governor stresses they should heed.
We do not want to lose anyone as we respond to what is expected to continue to be historic flood level.
Once the river crests, it'll take 3 or 4 days for floodwaters to recede significantly. Karen McHugh, Fox News.
Democratic presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg hitting back at criticism from Rush Limbaugh for comments about his marriage. The conservative commentator saying last week Americans are not ready to elect a gay guy kissing his husband on the debate stage.
Well, I am in a faithful, loving, committed marriage. I'm proud of my marriage. And I'm proud of my husband. And I'm not going to be lectured on family values from the likes of Rush Limbaugh or anybody who supports Donald J. Trump as the moral as well as political leader of the United States.
Buttigieg on Fox News Sunday. Hail to the driver-in-chief.
Tens of thousands of patriots here today have come for the fast cars and the world-class motorsports. But NASCAR fans never forget that no matter who wins the race, what matters most is God, family, and country.
President Trump serving as Grand Marshal of the Daytona 500, also known as the Great American Race. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Hafaday, Guam. We'd like to invite you to join us February 23 for the Guahan Festival of Hope with Franklin Graham at the Guam Football Association soccer field next to Dedido Sports Complex. Franklin Graham will be on Guam to share a life-changing message of God's love and hope for every one of us. This hope-filled event will also feature musical performances by Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter Michael W. Smith. Tommy Coombs Band, and Dennis Agianian. Don't miss this free once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Come join us for an afternoon of music and a life-changing message of God's love and hope on February 23 at the Guam Football Association soccer field, starting at 4:30 p.m. Gates open at 3:30 p.m. Admission is free. For additional information and updates, visit us and like our Facebook page at Guahan Festival of Hope. See you there. God bless you and God bless Guam.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders, starting at $1.99 each. Go sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
Today and good morning. It's 6:06. I'm Mana Silva-Tyron with a look at some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. 2 miners were injured in a house fire this weekend in Dedido. Calls were made to 911 of the fire on Chalimbalaku Street at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. Guam Fire Department units arrived within several minutes and evacuated the occupants. The 2 were transported to GMH for minor injuries. Their condition isn't known this morning. The fire was placed under control and GFD arrived shortly after GFD arrived at the scene. The longtime building inspector and permit administrator with the Department of Public Works has resigned amidst an investigation into potential conflicts of interest. Joseph Guevara resigned in December of last year in the middle of an investigation into his potential conflicts. According to a statement from DPW's director, Vincent Areola, the department became aware of potential conflicts in the fall of last year. The investigation was coordinated with the Office of the Attorney General. It isn't clear whether the contractors that he'd worked with are also under investigation, but Areola says it is possible that the contractors were victims. The Guam Daily Post couldn't reach Guevara for comment. The Post also attempted to contact Guevara's wife, Janine Guevara, who is a real estate agent. It's been alleged that the Guevaras had signed off, or Joe Guevara signed off on permits for developers who had been working on properties which were to be sold by his wife, which would have been a conflict of interest. Janine Guevara is also listed as a candidate for senator in the upcoming election. 2 people have been placed under arrest after a woman alleged that she'd been sexually assaulted by a couple known to her while she was in middle and high school. 46-year-old Natasha Kitigwa Peters and 46-year-old Dwayne Richards Peters each face charges of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and second-degree criminal sexual conduct and child abuse. Natasha Peters has also been charged with guilt established by complicity and conspiracy, while Dwayne Peters faces an additional charge of family violence. The Guam Police Department's domestic assault response team made the arrest. The woman reported the allegations to the authorities in March of last year. After multiple failed attempts to locate the couple, detectives learned that Dwayne Peters had relocated to Saipan. Officers worked with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to place a hold on him, and he was captured on February 15th at the A.B. Wampat International Airport. When he arrived back on Guam, both were interviewed by GPD and are now being held at the detention facility. A 74-year-old man accused of inappropriately touching a 9-year-old girl known to him has been released from prison on the condition that he stay away from the girl. Alberto Lumbung is charged with second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. He appeared in the court yesterday in a wheelchair and was released on $10,000 performance bond. According to court documents, police responded to a criminal sexual conduct complaint at a local elementary school. The child told police that between July and November of last year, the suspect called her into the kitchen and sexually assaulted her. The suspect only stopped after the victim's parents arrived. She ran into the bedroom and later told a family member that it was the second time that the man assaulted her. More news after this.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
The Guam Visitors Bureau is urging the postponement of a basketball tournament on the island that will include the Hong Kong national basketball team. GVB made the recommendation because of concerns over the new coronavirus, Guam's image as a visitor destination. Guam has denied the entry of a cruise ship after it boarded passengers from Hong Kong, but more recently, some officials in the basketball community decided to host a tournament involving the Hong Kong basketball team, which is set to arrive later this month. The GBB Board of Directors on Saturday made the recommendation to postpone or cancel the Guam Basketball Confederation's Asia Cup qualifier. Meanwhile, 14,000 tourists have canceled their travel plans to Guam as of Friday. And there's a new ban on plastic items in the FSM, but the new law does allow for the importation of reusable or recycled plastic. The ban is of disposable plastic foam, plastic food service items, and plastic shopping bags. However, the president of the FSM was clear to state that if it's reusable, recycled, or biodegradable, it will be allowed. The move by the FSM follows a ban on some sunscreen creams by the Republic of Palau in 2018 because of their ingredients, including oxybenzone, which can harm coral and other sea life. And the U.S. Naval Base Guam Security Forces and other first responders will be put to the test during a 4-day exercise this week. The Command Assessment of Readiness and Training Program begins tomorrow. It'll evaluate the installation's ability to respond to various scenarios. The regularly scheduled exercise will be held at Naval Base Guam and Apra Harbor. So residents shouldn't be alarmed if they see or hear some increased activity down there. It starts tomorrow and ends on Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
Let's see what it says here. High surf advisory in effect until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning along east-facing Reese, and a high risk of rip currents along east-facing Reese as well. A lot of wind out there today. Partly cloudy skies, some isolated showers. Easterly winds 15 to 20 miles an hour. Don't believe it'll be higher. Highs today about 87 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight with isolated showers. More of those easterly winds up to about 20 miles an hour, and overnight lows of about 74 degrees. Expected highs today should be about 87 degrees. Sunrise this morning not until 6:43. We've got sunset tonight at 6:26. That's when it's going to break the plane about the same time as it did last night. Maybe I'll scrounge up the picture that I took and post it up on Facebook so you can see what a gorgeous sunset that we had yesterday. In the meantime, 6:13 in the morning, news and weather together here on The Point, brought to you by our friends over at Bank Pacific, banking on the Pacific for 65 years.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in? Wait, hold on, that was last month. Now it's this month. But by popular demand, we're extending our New Year's solution 4.65% personal loan through February. Money for whatever you want at 4.65% APR from Bank Pacific. We're still celebrating.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
6:13 in the morning. Portions of the Ray Gibson Show being brought to you by the guys over at Wendy's, where they've got that big bacon classic back on track. You're going to absolutely love the way they put this thing together. Starts off with a big, huge piece of slab of Wendy's beef down at the bottom of it. We've got melted cheese on top of that, and then they put bacon, but not any ordinary kind of bacon. This is the good stuff. This is Applewood smoked bacon. This is fat as pretty fat things go. Try it. You got to try this. They throw in the rest of it, lettuce and tomatoes and onions and all of that stuff. It really, really is good. So you want to try that through the drive-thru when you hit Wendy's today. The Ray Gibson Show also being brought to you by American President Lines, APL. That's a global presence with a local home.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Monday. One of hundreds of Mondays that we're going to have in 2020. You might as well just get used to it. Actually,
hundreds.
We were just joking about that. We're not.
Come on now. How many weeks in a year?
I can't remember now.
Not hundreds.
All right. So how many weeks into the year are we? So what is it? 52 weeks in a year. What do you suppose we got? 48, 49 or so Mondays before it gets to be 2021. I can hardly wait. I can hardly. I'm tired of 2020 already. We've had a couple of big, humbling celebrity deaths, and we're all dealing with this coronavirus crap that's out there. That's now you get the cruise liner that they were talking. But
still very much to be grateful for.
Oh, absolutely. So here's the thing though. I was looking around. I do this every day. I look for all of the stories that feature Guam. I've told you about the Guam alert that I have in the Gmail, right? So anytime Guam shows up in a news story that doesn't come from even including the ones from like PNC and KUM, et cetera. But every time it comes up, I get a note that says, hey, there's a story about Guam out there. And among the most mentioned stories with Guam in it is the one about the cruise ship that we turned away. And now this is a celebrity cruise ship. Have of all of them that are out there, this one has got the most incredible stories following it because of the saga of all of the ports that it could have called on.
And nobody's sick on board.
And there's nobody sick on board. So
they're stuck and they just can't get off.
No, that's okay. No, there's some. I'll tell you the story because it's one of the more interesting stories that I've got out there that involve Guam. It's Monday. It's going to be a slow day. It's President's Day. It's going to be a slow day. The Navy has punished sailors for making Make Air Crew Great Again patches during the Trump speech. Now normally you'd go, oh, this just, can you imagine? Why? What's the big deal? It isn't. Well, apparently the big deal is, I don't know if I can show you the patch here. It's got President Trump on it, and it says "Make Air Crew Great Again." Now, the reason why for some listeners this may be ringing familiar.
Okay. Well, there's the trouble.
Because they were listening to Trump and they want to make Air Crew great again. Now this may ring very familiar to some in the listening audience because apparently the group of sailors that were wearing the Make Air Crew Great Again patch are from HSC 25.
Uh-oh.
That's our guys.
Uh-oh.
Those are our dudes. They're HSC 25.
Yeah.
Thank God for HSC 25. They put out fires. They pluck guys out of the boondocks when they get lost hiking, and all of the very, very cool things that we get. I hope they didn't hit them too hard. I hope they didn't nick these guys too hard.
I wonder if they write anonymous letters.
Anonymous letters. Right. Anyway, welcome to the program. Excuse the mess. Laugh and giggles because it's Monday. And like I said, what's going to be the big deal today? Are we going to get... I don't even know if the legislature
apparently has nothing going on, right? Because they list it as President's Day, a national holiday.
No, that's good. That's good. The less times those guys get together. Because have you heard the latest resolution that's out there? I'll tell you. Anyway,
I think I did, but I'm not.
We'll load it up. Anyway, 6:18 in the morning. We are not the real stars of the program here. Real Joe and Mana and I. The real stars of the program are these folks here.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name.
Well, by the way, there is school today. There is school to get. Issa Baza and John Fernandez hit every version of social media yesterday to ensure that everybody knew that on President's Day, it was a working day for the Department of Education. There are classes today, so if the kids are giving you some kind of excuse, but Mom, no, it's president. They make this president for Jesus Day. Jesus was the best president ever. And so they're lying to you. There is school today. Get them dressed and get them out there. J.B. St. Nicholas comes in number 1 today. I got Rico B at number 2. John Ray Titanel comes in at number 3. Ismail number 4. Yoichi comes in at number 5. I see Tom Tahadzi's online. So is Heather Parrish, June Bells, James Howard rounds out the top 10 today. What's going on here, James? What's going on with it? These two guys were traditionally face-to-face every morning. They're trying to be the number 1 guys, and they're slipping down the ranks here. James Howard at number 9? Really? Ismail at number 4. Come on, you guys can do better than that. And Sabine Chargalov comes in at number 10. But they're not the only ones that are hanging out with us online this morning. We got all kinds of other superstars, including Pat and Norma Jean Flores. The other Marianne Tyron St. Nicholas is online. I see Sabine Chargalov, Keenan McCausland in Washington State watching the program on Sunday night. That's nice. Dominic Uggan. Good morning, everybody. He says, James Howard says, blah, 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 blah. Is that the noise that Shakira was making when she did that tongue thing at the Super Bowl? That's where that comes from, right? Bill Cruz says, morning, Ray and Mana, and poof, there goes the weekend. You know what? And that was my story on Facebook yesterday. I was over at Jimmy's, and gorgeous sunset popping through. Not the best I've ever seen. I put it on about a scale of 6 out of 10, but it was just one of those moments where you realize, look at that beautiful sunset. Beautiful Sunday night sunset. And at the same time, you're going, crap, that means tomorrow's Monday. That means, wait a second, I gotta go home at some point. I'm just now starting to have fun. And I got to split. What is that? It's like that. You get used to it. So just be careful where you are on Sunday nights. So there you go. Pam Duvall is online. I got Zayt Tatminglu. Roy Burgess, are you good morning me in Guam? Or are you good morning me in the Philippines? I think Roy took off over the weekend for a wasn't a race. Unless it was a race down the aisle. I thought I saw some images of what looked like a wedding that Roy was attending. Don't think it was his, though. Who else is on? Mingo Ree and John Santos. Not that one, the other one. I see Alicia Canetta, Nick Pulaski, Troy the Destroyer. When in reference to the story in the front page of today's Guam Daily Post, says building permit chief resigns amidst investigation. I don't know. I can't recall the. Maybe we'll get with Troy because we were talking about this earlier. This looks like a confirmation of a conversation that we had with Troy the other day, where he was kind of laying out the trials and tribulations of Joe there at the permit center and the connection between Joe projects and then projects that would be marketed by his wife Janine. Right. And I think Troy said that the resignation had already taken place. They were conducting an investigation. The resignation had taken place, but there didn't seem to be a solid connection between the resignation and the investigation.
Yeah.
But
kind of like when Joey
sure
Sherlahi resigned from Department of Corrections.
Yeah, we're pretty sure that's what happened.
He heard a little scuttlebutt, so he decided, no.
Yeah, maybe now's a good time to go before the caca hits the fan. Lee Stolley's online. I see Charlene Marchessault's there. Anthony Kaminga, good morning to you. Richard Clark, Belen Siddell, who, if she didn't win her division, top 5 for sure in the half marathon that took place over the weekend.
Wow. And lots of fast runners, too.
Lots of slow runners. All right, so Ray comes in at 2 hours and 5 minutes. Not bad, considering the last time I'd run 13.1 miles.
I think that was my last 13 time.
Right? The last time I'd run 13.1 miles was actually the first half of the marathon last year. I had not done any long running. And you know what I forgot? You know what I forgot about?
What did you forget?
Your legs hurt like hell afterwards, just from the hips on down. And I was wearing my distance shoes, and I remembered something about those distance shoes that I'd completely forgotten. They give me blisters. So I'm at what, like 11 miles. I'm at 11 miles, and I start to feel this thing on the pad of my foot, and I'm going, oh no, not today, Satan, not today, running Satan. But and it just started to get bad just as I was crossing the finish line. But it wasn't like ooey gooey. so I didn't bother taking any pictures of it. If it was ooey gooey, I would definitely would have shared it with you here on the radio.
I'm sure he took pictures.
I forgot how
I'm
much
almost
that
certain
hurts.
he took pictures.
So
of
anyway,
it.
so there's the baseline.
We just didn't see it.
2 hours, 2 hours, 5 minutes. That's the baseline. So I'm going to shoot to improve that. I'm going to shoot for sub 2 in the upcoming half a marathon. That's now.
Awesome.
Now I know where I am in a 13.1 mile race, and now I know where I need to be.
Were you
And that
fighting the
was-
wind too, or?
Not so bad, because we were coming in from the north end, from Anderson Air Force Base towards EPAL Beach Park. The only time I felt there was oppressive wind was when we took that spur into Two Lovers Point. And as I've said many times before, that's a soul suck right there. There's
soul sucker?
It is a soul sucker. You might be having the best day of all time, and you get in there, you make that turn, and you realize I'm gonna be in here for 2.5 miles, and I'm gonna hate every step.
And it's a boring part too, because it's just you see jungle on your left, jungle on your right. You don't see any sunset or sunrise, nothing. It's just boring.
And the only way that they eliminate it, and then we have to run to Agana. So I guess they put the spur in there, and that's how we managed to finish every time over at EPAL Beach Park. But anyway, the other good part of it was everybody dedicating their steps, everybody dedicating their miles to Marissa Peroy. And at the end of the finish line, there was Ferlito, shaking hands and waving at everybody.
And her name is on each of the medals, so
Yeah.
it's just beautiful.
That
Really nice.
we'll get as soon as China goes back. They're blaming Corona, but the medals weren't ready because coronavirus. I'm sure they're already done. I'm sure they've already been minted. We just can't get anything out of China. Are we the only? Is that the only case that you're hearing about where we're having issues with
Well, I ordered
produce?
stuff, and apparently it's coming from Hong Kong, so I'm kind of bracing to see how long that's going to take.
Okay. Well,
I'll
I
let
ordered,
you know.
I ordered a pair of shoes, but I ordered those from California. Anyways, where was I? Charlene Marchessault, Anthony Kaminga, there's Belen. Mark Cruz is waving around. That's good. Alex Aflagui saying good morning. Sir Ray. Well, I like that. Sounds like I'm in the Philippines. Sir Ray, can I get you a drink? Another amaretto sour, Sir Ray.
Mom, sir.
Ma'am, sir, 625. James Howard says, don't worry, Ray. It's just like the flu. No need to panic. People are overreacting. Seriously? I bet a week from now, this will be a non-story. I think James is being facetious. Well, I think
the people that are worried are the elderly and people who already have weak immune systems.
Sure. And they should be for any kind of flu, any kind of serious virus that's floating around up. But James had posted on Facebook somewhere, right-click on his name and take a look at some of the posts. He actually posted something like a very, very hot spot in Wuhan, that I think in Wuhan, that he says the reason why it's hot and it's been so hot is because it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, burning bodies, getting rid of the victims. So they got some kind of mass body incineration place out in China. Now I don't know that that's true, but I also don't know that it's false. I also don't know, because there's it's China, it's a communist country. They can shut down the information.
Comes from China, you just believe it. The stuff that those people eat,
like bat. Oh wait.
No, it's not. It's not bad. It's like they eat live
things.
Well, it's still moving and they're chewing it.
What do they call there's a name for that. There's Charlene Marchessault. What is the name of the word I'm looking for?
It's crazy stuff.
But it's all over the social media, and that's where you're getting that from.
But
there's
it's
pictures
not just China. There are certain other. There are other countries that you see videos of them, and they're
mock books or something like that. There's
away at moving things.
They've actually got a name for that style of video, where they've got somebody, and the ones that I've seen on Facebook are generally very attractive. I mean, Tumon quality Asian girls, right? And they're eating things like live octopuses.
And then it sucks on their face and gets stuck.
Yeah. and there's a part of you just go, wow, that's just insanely gross, but it's also insanely erotic.
No.
I don't know what am I watching
My
here?
goodness.
Real Joe, help! Get this thing off my face. So,
anyway,
Charlene, what is the name for that style of video? Because they want us to do that here on the morning show. They want to be able to bring us food, and then we'd eat it and describe the flavors and the textures.
I have very weak gag reflexes,
but
so I'm out.
it wouldn't be anything like live octopus. I don't think any of Charlene's customers over at Glimpses are in the business that I know of selling live things to eat. June Bell says, Ray and Mana loving the brother-sister exchange. So entertaining. Such much the perfect example
We
of.
should have heard it before we went on here.
Yeah, island sibling. We've got to clean it up a lot. I just tell you right now, between the two of us, we've both got Tourette's. It's worse when we drink. Makes me miss you brothers in California, Washington, and Oregon. It is actually kind of cool, and we've got a thing. Mark Calvo, I'd left my car up at Anderson. Mark drove me back, and you were the subject of the conversation. He loved working with you when you were in the government of Guam, and he loves the exchange here. And I said he understands like anybody else. Is there's a couple of things that I get.
So he understands our Tourette's.
Yes, but he understands the nature of the relationship where Mana can be many things at once. Enabler is one of them. Every once in a while, I get this, and she can hear it in my voice. She knows when I'm dangling in between saying something and not saying something, and she shoots me a look like, just go for it, just say it, say it. I'll back you up. I'll back you up on this one. So she's kind of the enabler, and in some cases the instigator. Watch, you'll see it happen. Uniform regulations violation, says Ismail, and he'd know a thing or two about that. Oh, Ismail, can I show you what Ismail made? And I put this on Facebook as well. Ismail made this just for me.
Oh,
did you see it?
I did see that. I like that.
Yeah. So, because everybody asks, they say, what party are you going to run under, Ray? Are you going to run under the Democrats or the Republicans? And I keep saying, I don't need anything from either of those guys. So I want to make my own Republican Party.
I don't know about that picture, though. It kind of looks like one of those silicone dolls that they make in China.
Okay, so they did. That's actually more Photoshop than you would believe. We used that to launch the morning show a couple of years ago, before pre-beard, obviously, and so the guys over at Calypso took the pictures, and then they, I don't know, used the game show host filter on my face, and that's what we got. That's what we got left.
They should have given you a Trump comb over.
Because, well, the original pictures were far more orange. The original shots were orange, and there was a little bit of a Trump comb over going on there. But anyway, so yeah, the Republican Party, and that's that. When I say that I need 10 people in the legislature, me and 9 other folks that think just like me, not necessarily Republicans, not necessarily Democrats, but people that want to go in there and disrupt the status quo. That to me is the win. That to me is the adventure of running for political office. People are asking me all weekend long. They say, Ray, is it true? Are you actually running? And we're still in.
While you were running, they were asking if you're running.
Yeah, so it's still exploratory. It's still, we're very premature exploratory part, because they're gonna make me leave the radio, and then how am I going to feed Mana and Real Joe and all of the other employees here at the radio station? I mean, it's a fun ego trip for me, but if it starts affecting everybody's income and hours and things like that, because we're not bringing in the sweet massive advertising dollars that you only get on the Ray Gibson show, kind of be tricky, right?
I'll be that guy behind you at the ATM in Agana. Sir.
Can I have $5? I got a flat tire. I got to feed my kid. I need $5. 6:31 in the morning. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about here this morning, and we'll get around to doing plenty of it. If you need a primer on what might get you conversating this morning, then all you need to do is listen to the next portion of the program, instigator and an enabler of the Ray Gibson Show. It's time for news from the Guam Daily Post with Mana Silva Tyron.
2 people received minor injuries in a house fire in Dededo this weekend. Firefighters were quick to extinguish the fire to a home along Chalanbalaku yesterday. Within several minutes, they were able to evacuate the occupants. The 2 minors were taken to GMH. The longtime building inspector and permit administrator with the Department of Public Works has resigned. Joe Guevara resigned in December in the middle of an investigation into his potential conflicts of interest. The investigation coordinated with the AG's office. It's been alleged that Guevara had signed off on permits for developers who'd been working on properties which were to be sold by his wife, Janine. And 14,000 visitors have canceled their travel plans to Guam, and GVB wants to preserve our image as a visitor destination. This weekend, the GVB board urged the postponement or cancellation of a basketball tournament on the island that will include the Hong Kong national basketball team. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper. You can log on to their website at postguam.com.
iConnect time, let me see, is 6:32 in the morning. Go to iConnect over at the Micronesia Mall when they open this morning and check out their OnePlus 7T. It's a brand new kind of phone. It's not an iPhone. It's not a Samsung, but it is kind of an Android. Latest and greatest and very, very cool technology. Unlocked so you don't have to contract with anybody. One want an iPhone, they got those. They got Samsungs, maybe Apple accessories, and all kinds of third-party accessories waiting for you. If you like gadgets and gizmos and things that just kind of light up when you want them to light up, then you go find them over at iConnect at the Micronesia Mall.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Ray Gibson Show also being brought to you by the team over at Denny's. Today, it's Monday, so it's chicken adobo. Go for the chicken adobo on Mondays. Oxtail soup tomorrow and Thursday. Chicken tinola on Wednesday and Friday. We celebrate the launch of the weekend with pork sinigang. All soup orders served with rice because it's nice. While supplies last, make Denny's your new lunch spot.
If you own a Toyota, please listen to this. It could help you avoid injury. Maybe save your life. The Takata airbags installed in certain Toyotas can explode and shoot out sharp metal fragments at people inside the vehicle. You don't need to be in a collision. They could explode any time. In the U.S., these airbags have caused 26 deaths. There's been a worldwide recall of Takata airbags, and most have had the faulty parts replaced. But here in Guam, there are still over 3,000 Toyotas on the road with potentially lethal airbags. And yours could be one of them. So please, take your Toyota to Atkins Grow, even if you didn't buy it from us, and get the inflator replaced. It costs you nothing. It takes just about an hour, and it could save a life. Yours, or someone you love. The AK song says we're here for life. That's never been more true.
At Atkins Grow, we're here for life.
Well, there's not going to be any traffic. There's just enough. I think there are just enough people that are taking today off, the President's Day holiday, that I think it's going to lighten traffic up a whole lot. Schools are open, so expect the usual delays around the usual campuses. You'll see some of that happening right now on Route 3. A little bit happening just in front of Simon Sanchez in that area there up in Jigo. But otherwise, smooth running all the way into Tuning. JFK Kmart area is running sweet. I got Sweet Tone in the downtown Agutnia area. Route 4 from Telempago Ordot all the way in is looking pretty good, and Route 10 running fairly clear right now. Don't see anything slowing you down up and down Marine Corps Drive from Polaris Point down to Big Navy in Sumai, so enjoy the drive at 6:35. I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it. That's right now traffic here on The Point.
Docomo Pacific wants to keep your business connected. When you sign up for a smart business bundle, you're gaining more than just mobile, internet, and phone services. Receive unbeatable value for your money and the convenience of having it all on one bill. All your business services on the widest and fastest network in Guam and the Marianas. Call 688-2677 for more information on partnering your business. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
Howdy, folks. I'm back with my KFC Sriracha Extra Tasty Crispy Chicken. Yep, we kicked up our Pika chicken a notch with Sriracha.
Woo! Sriracha!
It's spicy, tangy, and sweet. You've never had Sriracha like this before, so spice up your next meal with KFC's new Sriracha Crispy Chicken. Also available in boneless crispy strips. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
The Ray Gibson Show, bringing you closer to the action. This is The Point, Guam's FM News Talk Superstation.
Well, there it is. There's the picture. There's the patch that made everybody crazy in the Navy, and we got to make an example of these guys. That's what we've got. The directive bars service members, according to the folks over at Fox, the directive bars service members from attending political rallies and expressing political opinions as long as they're not reasonably viewed as directly or indirectly associating the Department of Defense with a partisan political activity. Now, you know how I am, right? I'm generally pretty generous with the benefit of the doubt. I'm looking at the picture, and yes, while there is an image of a person who arguably resembles Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States of America, who is running for re-election in 2020, just the make aircrew great again, I don't see how that is anything other than just kind of amusing. I mean, it's not like, that's President Trump's stump line. I don't think he's running on that.
Add anything to your uniform that's not already sanctioned or approved by the
Department of Defense?
Yes. I don't think you can.
What about like earrings and beard? Is that allowed? Tattoos, that kind of thing?
I think there's a regulation regarding
Ismail,
the
you're my
type or
you're my
your length.
Ismail, you're
Like,
my
you can't have
uniform
your-
regulation guy.
You can't have your hair past your collar, so there's certain things, guidelines that you got to follow.
I was thinking about that as I was ironing my clothes yesterday. I was thinking about Phil, who gets is a uniform wearing guy most of the time, right? Regular job, and then his guard duties keep him in uniforms and things like that.
Yep. Keep his hair short.
So he's got to do all of those things in compliance at his place.
Right.
Does he iron his own clothes?
Yes, he does.
Okay, just I wanted to check on that as well.
I'm not a good ironer, and I'll double crease your pants just so I don't ever have to do it again.
Right, the same as washing clothes. You get everything
I like
pink
to wash
once, you never
clothes,
have to do it
I
again.
don't like to iron.
The Navy has punished several sailors for wearing President Trump's likeness that read, "Make Aircrew Great Again." A group of sailors assigned to the Guam-based Helicopter Sea Combat Squadron 25, HSC 25, who sported flight suits with red patches, violated a Pentagon order prohibiting service members from participating in a political activity. They said that out of Pacific Pac Fleet in Hawaii. A service member wears a patch that says, "Make Aircrew Great Again," as they listen to Donald Trump speak to the folks. The Navy did not specify what type of punishment was given. The sailors were told not to wear the patches again, and Navy officials are updating guidelines regarding the wearing of patches to ensure the rich heritage and time-honored traditions of naval aviation are upheld in a manner that maintains the dignity of naval service. Oh, come on, these guys, they come out to Guam and have a good
Trump
time.
lovers because they just got a raise.
Good.
They got a bump.
Good.
In their benefits, too.
So wear the patch on the inside of your clothes.
There you go.
You
Right
don't have
next to your heart.
Don't show it on the outside. You're just going to get in trouble for that. Demand is going to come down on you.
You know what? You can get a tattoo.
Whatever in
Get
the
a
old
tattoo
days.
on your arm.
The wooden ships and iron men. That's what I'm talking about here. What is the nanny state regulations on what you can and can't wear? I'm just riffing here. I'm having a good time. I want to see if I can get a rise out of somebody. It's 20 away from the top of the hour. Didn't get a chance to finish out who else was playing around online. Tricia Santos Lujan is there. Rai St. Nicholas. Doris, our running pal, is online. I see Nate Horton. Doris did great in the race as well, the half marathon. There's Nate Horn. Good morning, Guam. Good to be back home. I saw you posted some of the flight itinerary. It was weird because you were talking about being at the airport in Manila, but the ARC that you'd posted starts in South Africa and arrives on Guam. And near as I can tell, we don't have any direct flights from South Africa coming into Guam. See, interesting travel
The
agent.
GPS was off.
Apparently. Rhea Garrido is online. I got... what did I say? Pam says, go get him, Troy. Who else does Troy need to get? They were Franco Julian, Melina Montanonia. Nice to see you there, neighbor. Gwen Timinglu. They're cousins, these two. I got Tony and Annette Unpinko. Ada Joe Cepeda is online. And I got, who else? John Ray and Therese Rigel. Dave Torrey. They were calling for you on Saturday over at the race, but I didn't see you. You must have been that fast. Jess Mendiola is online. So is Kevin Kanata. Republican Party has my vote. We don't need votes. I need membership. Leah Beth Nahalawa is there. V. Sablan LG. Go get him, girl. Valerie Antalan says, you got my vote. Thank you very, very much. I do appreciate that. Tell the others. Gus Castro Zasangas, half a day, Ray, not Chris, and the real Joe Cruz. People asking why it still says not Chris. The answer is I'm lazy. It originally said Ray Gibson down here at the bottom of the screen, and then it said Chris Duenas. And I forgot to change that, and so I tongue-in-cheek said Ray, not Chris. And that was weeks ago. That was like New Year's when I suppose maybe I'll find some time and take care of that today. Gina Kono, Darlene Bloss is online. I got Melissa Akimoto. Ken LG says, I'm still waiting for GVB to stop flights from South Korea, where nearly 28 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed and nearly 200 people in quarantine after fleeing from Wuhan. Rhymes with Lujan. Chris Chip is there. Gus, as I said, is there. Sherry Iriarte. Rudy Magallanes. Ismail says, no punishment announced because they didn't want POTUS jumping on them again. He saved Gallagher from jail, and he'd probably go nuts for non-criminal offense. Listen, military issues, you even wear underwear as a uniform item. Sometimes I feel bad because I never had the privilege of service. I just got a feeling, with my attitude and this mouth, I probably would have lasted about 20 minutes before somebody anybody with a lot of bars that come and say, you know what, this just isn't for us.
That's why we went through our OTC first.
This relationship is not going to work out. Gib, this is going to end in tears somehow. Chris Chip says exactly. I think he's referring to my statement about wooden ships and iron men. Does voting for a Republican Party come with a members-only jacket? Alex, I tell you what, you joined the Republican Party the way I want to put it together. Yeah, we're going to have jackets. We're going to have patches. We're going to have patches, too. I don't think there's enough patches. There used to be a store at Hulali. Old farts like me will remember there was this place at Hulali. I think it became the front of the bank. And there used to be like this head shop in there. And it was all blacklight posters and cool patches. Right, like the peace sign patch. Remember having the little peace sign? It was like a logo that you could get, and marijuana logos, and it was just that kind of store. So you could buy the patches, but nobody I knew had the cojones to actually wear those patches. And if you did, kick you out of school. You know, just stuff like that from back in the day. Where's the right? Lee Weber's online here. This something about remarking to one of my stories. Says Morning Ray from Texas. Lee Weber's coming to me in the great state of that's the show me state.
We love you.
He sends you Valentine's eyes?
No, there's no Valentine there today.
Hi, Lee.
6:44 in the morning. So yeah, half marathon on Saturday, and I was feeling so awful. My legs were feeling so bad. I decided, but the only way that you can get rid of this, you work out, is you got to get back out there. You got to get back out and stress the muscles again, and get them used to that kind of thing. So Sunday, woke up and hit Tumon, and I wasn't the only one that was hitting Tumon. It was nice to see my very old, very dear personal friend Simon Sanchez running up and down the street with me. Good morning.
Good morning, Ray. You were going so fast that when you high-fived me yesterday, you broke my wrist. That's how fast you were going.
Friends, believe him, he never lies. That's Simon Sanchez. It is the actual truth. Went from there to Guam Memorial Hospital where they did the X-rays and were able to stabilize his hand. And he will be. That's his Miguel Berdallo rate increase signing hand, right?
Actually, I voted for a rate decrease, but yes.
Eventually there's going to be evaluations for Miguel, because it looks like what's his name is doing is we're recreating some of the original meetings that got people hired and put in place, so kind of recasting them officially in their positions to meet with the requirements and the suggestions of the OPA, correct?
Yeah, we looked at the audit, and we did some research about how Guam's open government law is very similar to one in Tennessee, very similar to one in Alaska, and we're not the first board that has made this boo-boo. So when we looked at the Alaska precedent, we got some guidance on how to kind of make sure. Yeah, I'll give you the best example. Yeah. One of the ones we did was when Ken Flores retired in 2014, we had to hire a general manager, and we hired John Beneventi and set his salary. So that was one of the meetings. We had to make sure we did it in open session, and we only discussed his number. But this time, when we did it last Tuesday, we actually discussed their evaluations about, why, in the case, why would you hire John Beneventi? Well, John's got tremendous experience. John had been working with us since 2003, looking over both power and water, and he was the natural choice. And one of the other things that came up with is when we did the search, his competition wanted $250,000, $290,000. These people were relocating from the United States, and we're going. And Ken was making $170,000 at the time. And we were trying to also hire a generation manager from the Navy, a really wonderful guy. He wanted $210,000 just to run generation, $40,000 more than Ken Flores was making to run the whole company. Yeah. So we realized when we did, we do a wage survey in 2008. Senator Bob Klitsky at the time, the good judge, and Senator Joanne Brown helped us set up a pay scale in which we do wage surveys for our utility workers across the country for like-sized utilities that do both transmission and generation. Many utilities in the U.S. only do one or the other. We have to do the whole thing. We're on a little island. We have to do the whole package. And we do these surveys, and back in 2008, the average GWA employee was in the 5th percentile, which means for the same job, 95% of the other comparable jobs in the United States were being paid more, and GPA was in the 10th percentile. And we said, look, if we were losing linemen to Anaheim. That was the biggest issue. And we were requiring at GWA, everyone had to be certified. And if you're going to go get certified, pass the EPA test, and then you should be rewarded for doing that.
Universally employable when you've got that certification.
Right. So we began a migration that's now in its 12th year, with the law passed by Bob Klitsky and Joanne Brown and signed into law by Governor Camacho. Because remember, everybody was on the old pay scale where, DPW can't even hire an engineer. They finally got one in 2019 because it doesn't pay enough to attract people from the private sector or from off island to come work on Guam. And we had to be competitive just to, even the people competing to replace Ken Flores wanted $250,000, $300,000. And we're saying, look, you have to have someone capable and competent to run the utilities. These are sophisticated businesses and technologies. And John B. was the one. So last Tuesday, we recreated that. He was selected to replace Ken Flores at a salary of $225,000, which was less than his competition. And John clearly qualifies.
And I remember conversations with him even when he was working with Ken. The question, I guess, is that eventually you need to have, because there was a conversation about truing up on their salaries and things like that. But you need to have the evaluation. Is that being conducted now on JB and Mike?
Well, so the one with, so that's the other thing we're going to clean up is to make sure we have a much more formal process for evaluations. Because, we meet with these folks all the time, and we see what they do, and we talk about the goals. And you can't hit 25% renewables 14 years early. You can't get a generator that's going to allow us to add more renewables and burn 1 million gallons of fuel less a year with a new generator. We have a new battery coming online. You can't meet all the court order requirements of GWA without having to be going into receivership like at DOE, like at the prison, like at look at the problems of our hospital. All of this happened when you were having these entities run by the governor and the legislature, right? And we saw Hanamtaki, we saw boil water notices, we saw load shedding. And the fact that now ratepayers elect their own representatives to run the utility for the last 18 years, we're in a much better place than we were 18 years ago. We're doing things that we weren't doing 18 years ago. We were doing things that we weren't doing 10 years ago. We're complying with court orders. We're rebuilding. There's $100 million of wastewater treatment plants in the South now, meeting secondary treatment. Somebody has to make that happen. It doesn't happen by itself. And Miguel has been a key piece to it. The employees of GWA have been a key piece to it. The employees of GPA are the ones that are helping us get to 25% renewable. We held the base rate for 13 years now. We haven't touched it since 2013, so we've held it for 7 years. And we just lowered the total power bill. We held the fuel bill fixed for 18 months. How does that happen? Because you have good, talented neighbors of yours being paid fair wages and being rewarded for providing that benefit to our ratepayers.
I was going to say
we just need to be more formal with the process.
But
the results are there.
Because I've seen the paperwork. I mean, there's nothing to be scared. It's not like doing your taxes and stuff, but it's apparently it's something that we've got to do going into the next round of raises for these guys. Nobody is suggesting they don't deserve them. Well, maybe there are some people that do. There might be some people.
And I saw one post. God bless Ken Leon Guerrero, but he's the last one to be talking about paying salaries after what he did with the people with disabilities. I mean, it sounds like he doesn't think anybody should be paid what they're meant to be paid. But you've got to reward people for performance. The utilities are better today than they were 5 years ago, than they were 20 years ago. And we're slowly moving up all the line employees, right? We have a strategy that says without killing the rates, can we migrate our employees who are qualified and certified, who are climbing those poles during typhoons, and we pay them a salary so we don't lose them to Anaheim? We now aren't losing linemen to Anaheim. We're keeping our employees. They're performing better and rewarding them. And even now, 12 years later after that law was passed, they're at the 10th and the 15th percentile, which means 85 to 90% of employees in the United States doing the exact same job make more money than the ones on Guam. And, we know we can't get to 50%. We can't get to 80%. That would be a rate shock that we couldn't afford. But we want to slowly migrate our employees, attract good management, and move their pay up because they're doing a 24/7 essential service that cannot fail. You can't not have power. You can't not be able to flush the toilet, and you cannot send Hanamtaki into the ocean. And all those changes.
Not anymore. Not anymore. We get in trouble last time. We get 651.
Even whether we get in trouble, it's our own pride as a people saying, look, we can run our own power system. We don't need receivership like what happened with the trash, what's going on at DOE, what's going to probably happen at DOC. Look at the way we run our hospital when the governor and the legislature are running it for us, right? And I've been there, so I've been part of that problem too. The list of who to blame is long and distinguished, right? But we've got to make some fundamental changes, and one of the fundamental changes that has worked is having an elected board of ratepayers run the CCU, hire good management, set pay scales that attract and retain people, and fix things and move to renewable energy.
That jumps us into the conversation about part-time legislatures, which is a key. It's a fundamental platform of the Republican Party is to take that beast and make it part-time and do exactly what you're saying is to get stronger boards and commissions of ratepayers and taxpayers, and somebody that will advocate for all of the people of Guam, not just the connected ones. Anyway,
there are some very talented people in Guam that serve on boards and commissions voluntarily and do a great job. The marathon doesn't need any government law to be passed for the United Marathon to run. Citizens pull that off. Citizens can govern our island, and they don't have to do it full time. We have public hearings at the CCU. We meet 3 times a month for sure, 2 work sessions and a regular meeting, and then we have public hearings. I've never missed a public hearing, but it's at 6 at night. We go after work. There's no, and when you go to legislative public hearings, you don't see all 15 senators there. You're lucky to see 2 or 3 there, the chairman and 1 or 2 others. So, this myth that somehow you have to be 60 hours a week in the office at the legislature, to me, is a myth. I've been in there. I passed a number of laws, and you research those laws on your own time. You kind of do it out of the passion and love for public service and public policy, and you work on that. But you don't have to quit your full-time job. That just limits the talent pool, and you can manage time where people can you can meet during sessions. So a teacher could serve in the legislature, and during summer school they can pass the budget during summer. That's when
655. Anyway. Yeah, we got a bunch of laws that stand in the way of getting good, hard-working people in the government more involved in the government at the policy level. Anyway, 654. I got to let you run. I always like to finish up.
One question, Ray.
Yeah.
One question to ask candidates, right, including yourself, right? None of the candidates running for office, I would want to believe, are doing it for the money. They're doing it out of a sense of public service, a sense of commitment. They're not doing it for the money. So that just really opens up the idea that, okay, if none of us are doing it for the money, then let's keep our regular jobs. Let's go to a part-time legislature that can still be effective. Let's attract good people to run, and then let the voters do what they do every 2 and 4 years, make their choices as to who they want to represent them, and go from there. But a full-time legislature, we've got hundreds of laws that we passed that aren't implemented, can't be funded, and it begs the question, so why are we spending all that time on things that don't work?
Amen. All right, so I'm going to let you run.
Have a great President's Day.
You too. Are you working?
Nope. My plant is working, and but I will enjoy some of the outdoor activity this afternoon and do some honeydews this morning with my Magahaga. And
the real Magahaga.
Enjoy the beautiful weather this time of year.
You have a good time out there. 655, and yeah, it is gorgeous weather that he's talking about. Yesterday, a almost perfect day for grill marks. I say almost because there's parts in Tumon.
Were you getting sandblasted?
Yes, absolutely. You remember that time we were hanging out? It was in front of the old Seahorse restaurant. You remember? And it was around this time of year. Same thing.
If you get even a little bit sweaty, all of that sand would
just sandblasted you. And every time you think, okay, that's enough for the wind, everything's going to be all right, and all of a sudden here comes another gust of this stuff. And it just pelting you with this sand. And I'm trying to figure out how the heck am I supposed to get grill marks when I'm getting sandblasted at the same time. And the only thing I could think of is over by the Hyatt. Is they got that bed of like seagrass or sea leaves that are out there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I put my junk on that, and the leaves help keep the spray down from of course.
Or you could just get in the water.
A little fire ants or something like that. He ate me up. 6:56 in the morning. So we got plenty of that stuff. How was the Valentine's, by the way? Did everybody have a good and enriching Valentine's Friday night, or did you stay home because you were worried about the coronavirus and that kind of thing?
You were right about reservations. even Wendy's was booked. I couldn't get anywhere.
A little bit tricky on Friday night. I went and did sunset hunting with the team, and then they pretty much called it a night because most of the places that I was passing by, they all looked like they were jam-packed, crowded. Hard to believe.
You told them.
I told them. Hard to believe though.
You told everyone to come join you.
When you guys were in Tumon, if you went into Tumon at all over the weekend, did you note? I mean, it didn't feel like we were 14,000 less reservations. Because, I mean, there were still people, there were still the Korean drivers with their hazards on. parked on the side of the road. There was plenty of that going on. Still saw a lot of military up and down, and the place that I was at yesterday seemed to have about the right number of Korean hot pants around. So I couldn't tell you that things were slowing down in Tumon, but they are, so much so that there's concerns being expressed about the coronavirus, and we're worried about the brand. And then we've got another one where we've got coronavirus that's affecting Tumon, and the Chamber of Commerce is now calling for to hold off, to postpone the enactment of the minimum wage bill. Supposed to go in to what, $8.25 on.
It is $8.25. It's going to go to
$8.75.
You're right. It's up 50 cents.
No, it's up $1 in total, but it's only going up in 50-cent increments every year. Too much, too little, too late. It was a lousy deal, legislature. You should have done it. If you were going to do it all the way, right? But anyway, so these guys, they've got that coming out, and concerns being expressed now over at the chamber, and we'll try to get a hold of Christine Belletto to get her comments on this a little bit later on what it is with this minimum wage and what they suspect is going to happen, where you've got businesses that will be hit with an increase for some of their employees, but also a market decrease in the number of customers they've got coming in. Could put the squeeze on businesses, and that's what they're hoping to prevent. 6:58 in the morning, and a question from somebody: do we get jackets if we join the Republican Party? Yes, they will look just like the jackets that we used to buy over at Sammy's. And it was every single one of us before we got on an airplane that was leaving Guam to go on a student trip into Japan or to the States or someplace like that. We all had to get to Sammy's and get a jacket, because Guam is hot, and virtually every other place the plane was going to land was cold.
And there's a company that actually makes those Sammy's jackets. I can't remember
No
who
way.
it is.
Wow. Somebody's doing it?
Yeah, they're the Guam jackets. I got to look online to see who that is.
Or one of the geniuses in the vast unpaid research department that is Facebook Live will tell us. Did I already tell you that Tom Bernardo's online? Good. So there's Neats is on. I see Joey Franquez there, Nick Perlowski. With the type of salary, you would think we would have a more reliable power system, and one that doesn't go offline whenever the wind blows lightly. Ron and Cindy De La Rosa are online. Renee, Pat Taitigui, Gerard Estoy, and Ike Iseki are online. Good to see everybody. A bunch more names, and I'll get around to doing those in the next hour of the program. Coming up, Jerry Roberts is working on a President's Day morning. We'll have a look at how the markets did over the weekend. Lousy for the Dow. Not lousy, just kind of off for the Dow. And where we think oil is going to be headed. Might look at Bitcoin if Real Joe gets inspired. We'll see what happens. 7 o'clock in the morning, Fox News Live is coming up next. Montesilva Tyron's got news from the Guam Daily Post. That's all ahead right here. This is The Point.
Westward bound on the campaign trail. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Democratic candidates courting voters in Nevada before Saturday's caucuses. Pete Buttigieg telling supporters in Las Vegas.
I want to thank you for everything you are doing to help us show, not just tell, what a different kind of politics looks like when it's based on inclusion, based on belonging, and based on a better future.
Rival Bernie Sanders leads the field according to Las Vegas Review Journal poll conducted last week.
Nevada is an important state. It is the first in the West Caucus and the first real indication of how candidates will do amongst minority voters. Nevada has a large Hispanic population, and candidates need and want their support.
Fox's Ellison Barber and Henderson. Democrats hold their next primary debate Wednesday in Vegas. The White House defending President Trump's tweets directed at the Justice Department days after Attorney General William Barr said those tweets make it impossible for him to do his job.
The president is making the point, and the Attorney General, Bill Barr, is backing him up on this, that he has not interfered in any criminal case. I know people who are trying to bully Bill Barr out of his job, like Elizabeth Warren. Her campaign is dwindling. She's practically disappearing as a viable candidate, so she's got to pick on Bill Barr. He's not going to be bullied by people like Elizabeth Warren.
Presidential counselor Kellyanne Conway on Fox News Sunday. The Grand Marshal of the Great American Race.
For 500 heart-pounding miles, these fierce competitors will chase the checkered flag, fight for the Harley J. Earl Trophy, and make their play for pure American glory. And that's what it is, pure American glory.
President Trump at the Daytona 500 telling fans no matter who wins the race, what matters most is God, family, and country. America is listening to Fox News.
Half a day. This is Alicia Blas from Security Title with a gentle reminder that your first installment of property taxes is due February 20. You might not know, but if you purchase property after March 4, 2019, you most likely will not receive a tax bill in the mail, but you still owe the tax. To make payment, take a copy of your deed to Revenue Tax in Barragata and ask for the tax bill. When it comes to your family land, call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
This ad for new Subway sliders starting at $1.99 each. How do you want it?
Cheer squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.99 each. Woo! Give me a ham and jack slider.
Ham and jack slider.
Give me an Italian spice slider.
Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
It doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.99 each. Go sliders!
Subway, make it what you want.
Trading one quarantine for another. The U.S. evacuating hundreds of Americans from a cruise ship in Japan under quarantine because of the coronavirus. They'll spend the next 2 weeks at U.S. military bases in California and Texas.
The U.S. Embassy made the U.S. passengers on the Diamond Princess aware that the chartered flights are their only option to fly to the U.S. before March 4th at the earliest. No one with symptoms of the virus will be allowed on the chartered flights back to the U.S. in an effort to stop the spread of this disease that is sweeping across mainland China.
Fox's Christina Coleman. The Justice Department scrutinizing the case of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
Fox News has learned the Justice Department recently opened an inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the FBI's interview of Michael Flynn while he was serving as President Trump's National Security Advisor. Flynn pleaded guilty to giving false statements to the FBI during that interview, but recently asked to withdraw that plea. Jeff Jensen, a prosecutor from the U.S. Attorney's Office in St. Louis, has been assigned to review the Flynn case. President Trump has not ruled out a pardon of Flynn, whose sentencing was recently delayed by the federal judge presiding over the case. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
A precarious situation that could turn at any moment. That's how Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves describes the threat of flooding from the Pearl River.
The water will continue to rise throughout today and continue to rise throughout Sunday evening.
The river expected to crest Monday in the Jackson area at 37.5 feet. California's legislature is expected to approve a resolution this week apologizing to Japanese Americans held at internment camps during World War II. A congressional commission in 1983 concluded the detentions were the result of racial prejudice, war hysteria, and a failure of political leadership. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Off a day, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering old-timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
Your 7 o'clock news is brought to you by Horizon Properties.
Today at 7:06, I'm Ana Silva Tyron with a look at your local news from the Guam Daily Post. A man accused in a knife incident in Sinahan has been held on $10,000 cash bail. 21-year-old Tommyson Nikot is charged with aggravated assault as a second-degree felony and twice with aggravated assault as a third-degree felony. According to court documents, the victim was driving in Sinahanya when they noticed the suspect standing in the middle of the road. The suspect is then accused of throwing a knife into the open passenger side window of the car. The one passenger was injured and taken to Naval Hospital. Nikot has 8 prior arrests, most of which were alcohol-related, listed in prison records between 2017 and 2020. Nikot is scheduled to be back in court on February 25th. Meanwhile, more than 45 local detainees and inmates at the Department of Corrections Aganya Detention Facility were bused to the DOC compound in Manila last week. The transfer was in direct response to the ongoing concerns that conditions at the prison are inhumane. The inmates are now being held in the prison domes. DOC spokesman Major Anton Uggan says that the move was made to alleviate overcrowding. Before the move, the Aganya lockup had more than 160 detainees and inmates confined. Uggan says DOC leadership is looking to further reduce the density of the prison population. He also said the federal detainees in the Aganya lockup were shifted to other areas so that prison staff can clean and paint cells and repair plumbing and lighting. It was last week that 9 federal detainees and inmates appeared in the U.S. District Court to talk about inhumane and unconstitutional conditions at the prison, and they say their Eighth Amendment rights have been violated. Another hearing is set to take place on the 24th of February. The Guam Chamber of Commerce is seeking a delay by a few months in the implementation of Guam's minimum wage increase in light of the rising number of tourist cancellations as a result of the coronavirus. The Chamber is requesting to delay this year's increase to September 1st. The increase is set to take place on March 1st. Chamber Chairwoman Christine Boleto says that in the Chamber's letter that the impact of this current crisis could translate to a 33% reduction in income for employees directly or indirectly involved in the tourism industry. The detrimental effect on our economy, she says, and our community would be significant. Guam law states that the minimum wage will increase from $8.25 to $8.75 by March 1st. About 3,500 workers on Guam are expected to get a slight raise. Meanwhile, the Guam Visitors Bureau is urging the postponement of a basketball tournament on the island that would include the Hong Kong national basketball team. GVB made the recommendation because of concerns over the coronavirus and Guam's image as a tourist destination. Board of Directors on Saturday recommended the postponement or cancellation of the Asia Cup qualifier. They say more than 14,000 tourists have canceled their travel plans to Guam as of Friday. More news after this.
Rent, lease. What does Horizon do for you? Here's a clue. Advertising, marketing, screening, inspecting, instructing, leasing and signing, collecting and complying, inquiring and assessing, coordinating, repairing, renewing, enforcing, evicting, moving, cleaning, rekeying, communicating. Do it yourself and you'll find it taxing. We work hard to keep the vacancies low, so at the end of the month, you collect the dough. Proven and trusted. Horizon Properties. We do it all. 777-7792.
The Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration says it needs to identify $20 million or $30 million for immediate work on the aging Guam Memorial Hospital, even while a new hospital is built. Acting Governor Josh Tenorio says the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is expected in the next few weeks to issue a final report on the repairs that must be made to the island's only public hospital. In November, visitors from the Army Corps of Engineers said that the hospital must urgently address numerous problems, including the replacement of GMH's electronic health record system. Tenorio says they expect to work with the members of the Guam legislature to come up with a good, comprehensive financing plan to get the hospital where we need it to be while we build a new hospital. And a woman who was 6 months pregnant when she was shot while driving home on Route 15 has delivered her firstborn child. It's been 3 months since Pito was shot 6 times in what family members believe was a random act of violence. The shooting happened along the back road to Anderson on the Mangilao side. GPD's Chief Steve Ignacio says the case is still under investigation. Police say it was a random shooting and may have been an act of road rage. Anyone with information should call the Guam Police Department or Crime Stoppers. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now's Ray with your weather.
More wind today, I think. Yeah, partly cloudy skies, isolated showers. Winds out of the east, 15 to 20 miles an hour. Daytime highs should be 87 degrees tonight and tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies, those isolated showers. Again, after sunset, things will cool down a little bit. Lows near 74. Daytime highs for tomorrow expected to be about 87 degrees. Watch out, there's a high surf advisory in effect until 6 tomorrow along east-facing shores. And we've got high risk of rip currents along east-facing reefs as well. Sunset tonight at 6:26. Sunrise came up this morning about 6:43. We expect the same thing going to be happening tomorrow. 7:11 in the morning, and that's news and weather together here on The Point.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
It's the Ray Gibson Show, being brought to you by American President Lines, APL, a global home with a local presence. The guys over at Guam Regional Medical City, the first choice for all of your specialty care needs. I'm going to say brain surgery, and when I say that, I mean it. You don't think they do that up there? Make a phone call to the guys over at GRMC and find out it's for true. And the team over at Mezcla Bistro, where hope they still have some of this stuff left. It would have been, if I had gone there on that had been my thing for Valentine's night. It would have been over at Mezcla, and I would have been all about the southern spiced crispy fried chicken. I like fried chicken. I like it when it's Louisiana style. A little bit of Cajun influence on that. That's nice. Half chicken served with red beans and rice, available in Nagunya and in Tumon at the Grand Plaza Hotel. Make reservations. Call 969-2652.
News to fill your mind. Talk to get it out. The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-8255.
It's 7:13 in the morning. You know, I don't want to say your kids are stupid, but there are definitely some stupid kids out there. Maybe not yours. Or maybe, you'll hear the story and you'll go, yeah, I've actually seen my kids do this. I'm not going to say, not going to be too harsh on these kids, because I've done it myself. I have done this my own self, but I did it more for shock value for people around me, as opposed to this new thing with the kids, and they put everything that they do on TikTok, right? Have you seen that? Nieces, nephews, how often with Mia and her girlfriends?
Several times a day.
They're constantly doing some kind of TikTok.
And I told them that you're into TikTok, and I was like, he's trying to ruin it for all the young people.
Yeah, that's right. like you old people ruin Facebook for us.
Mia's reaction was,
Oh, please tell Uncle Ray no.
What?
Well, I'm not on TikTok, but every once in a while I'll see some interesting.
That you do,
oh, okay.
I
should probably get some kind of identity there. Anyway, so here's what the TikTok kids are doing: packing peanuts.
Oh. Styrofoam.
Not styrofoam. It used to be styrofoam back in the old days, the unenlightened days. They're basically Cheetos.
And they eat it?
Yes, they're basic. Yeah, they started making it. Jerry knows, in the last 10, 15 years or something like that. You get packing materials. It used to be styrofoam, and then they said, well, that's bad for the environment, so we'll do something else. So basically, it's potatoes that I don't know whether they're unfit for restaurants and things like that. I mean, it's not like we're going to turn them into McFries, but so they've taken some kind of a byproduct, and so you can't. They won't. They're non-toxic. They're biodegradable. In fact, you can make them wet; they'll practically disappear. And they're safe to eat. They're not. They don't recommend that you eat it, but you are safe to eat. And I've eaten my share of those in the past. Every once in a while, like I said, just for shock value, I'll get something in, pick out the thing, and pop it in my mouth.
High in fiber, maybe.
In a very similar
comes
taste.
out how it goes in.
It comes. Well, I've never checked, but I'm. You know what? It almost tastes like Host, like when you're at Mass. You get that unleavened bread, and it's got a particular flavor. It's not that much different from that, except it's not bread. It's some kind of a potato cornstarchy thing. So give it. Jerry's looking at me like I don't think I'd ever. Look, I'm just saying your kids are doing stupid stuff on the internet. Just check around the house if you've gotten some. And those little, what was it Joe said, those little plastic deals?
The bubbles?
Bubble wrap, yeah, bubble wrap. Just don't pop that because the air comes from China. Anyway, so you got that story there. It's not quite the businessy section of the program, but we got to get into it. The Fanatsu Famulaan is coming up March 5th of 2020, and they had a little write-up about some of the people that are going to be on it, including Eveline Campus and Jessica Ignacio. Horatio Mesa, Marietta Limuaco, and Chloe Kernahan are also going to be a part of the deal as well. Time to take a look at and see where the markets all ended up the other day. As usual, I don't know why it does that exactly when I need to see it. It starts refreshing. I'll start with the commodities. West Texas crude at $51.60. That was Friday's number. Monday's number is $52.05, which is weird because there's an article in one of the newspapers over the weekend that says, hey, we're going to see a huge drastic drop in oil trading. And I'm going, well, it's dipped, but it is not sustained on the drop, at least not so far. $60.98 for a barrel of Tapis crude over the weekend. That has gone to $62.15, just a little over $1 worth of value for the price of Tapis. I don't get the Bitcoin. Did you see Bitcoin?
Today it's 9,775 and 41 cents, down from
10.3. What? Yeah. It was something like that on Friday. It's just ridiculous. I don't think I could live like that, Jerry Roberts.
Open the microphone.
I don't think I could live like that. Just the uncertainty.
Wait a second. Bitcoin went down after it went up. What a surprise!
Yeah, well, yeah, but for no reason. I mean, what's the reason behind it? Why did it go down? Coronavirus? Do we want to say blame everything on coronavirus?
Sir, we have discussed this before.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason Bitcoin goes up and there's no reason it goes down because it has nothing in it. As far as it's not attached to the value of the company,
or the full faith and credit of
an
issuing country.
Of the issuing country.
Yep.
It's based upon the faith of people that'll believe it'll go up or go down, and it's totally manipulated by unseen forces.
Donald Trump.
And if you are in Bitcoin, watch out.
It's the Chinese. The Chinese and the Russians are behind it. I don't know if you want to throw your money in that direction. It's still a good time to stay in the market. We're at 29,398 on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's off by 25 points from Friday's trade. NASDAQ up 19 points, 97.31. S&P 500 continues their record streak here, 3,380. They picked up 6 points in the close of business on Friday. FTSE is down. The Nikkei is down by 140 points. Hang Seng is up, and Shanghai is up, which is weird because you look at those two markets and you think if there was anybody that was going to be whose economic base is going to be written by the story of the coronavirus, it would be those two markets. And the fact that they are up including the number of victims, people that have it, and the number of people that have died now, different reporting requirements, and the numbers that continue to rise up in China, you'd think those numbers would be working backwards. Plus, all of the exports that seems to have slowed down since then, up to and including the medals from the weekend's half marathon that have not come in because they got them made in China.
Oh, boy.
So hopefully we'll have that by the next year's half marathon.
May I toss in a website people may want to? It's actually, I think it's on YouTube. Something that's very, very rational regarding this whole issue. Medcram. I don't know if it's a medcram.com or what it is, or .org. But if you go to YouTube and you put in Medcram, MEDCRAM, there's a guy there, a doctor who deals in sleep issues, and he goes through this entire thing of how you get it, and what you do, and how you can protect yourself because there is no cure. They're working on things where there is no cure at this point, but he talks about the immune system and how to protect yourself, and it is extraordinarily well done. So I came across this thing a few days ago, and my wife sent me a link on it. I guess somebody had sent her the link. Go to YouTube. Medcram, and he has a daily update on the coronavirus.
Interesting. Okay.
And how to deal with, on a personal level.
I'll see if I can scrounge up that video before it gets to be the end of the program. 7:20 in the morning, and we'd also like to take a look at what's going on over at the PTAC place. And if you are new to federal contracting or want to get into federal contracting, the next big workshop they've got coming up is the Federal Contract Opportunities. You find out everything. I've told you this 1,000 times. I'll tell you again. Don't exaggerate. But a reminder: there are places called FedBizOps and the NECO, and they're gone. Beta.sam.gov is the new portal for federal contract opportunities. There are guys that wake up in the morning. That's the first place they go to. Forget about Facebook. Forget about TikTok to watch their grandkids eating packing materials. No, they go to beta.sam.gov to find out what business opportunities there are in the federal government. And don't just look for the ones that say Guam on it. You'd be surprised at how many opportunities there are for businesses here on Guam to either partner with or go out and get business. Like Dave Alcorn.
And others. There are people on this island who actually have contracts elsewhere.
Yeah.
And they're making money.
Big money contracts. So you want to know how to get into all of that. There are some prerequisites, and I would suggest that you go to a free workshop that is going to be taking place on the 20th. This will be at the Business and Public Administration Building at the University of Guam, 9 until 10 o'clock in the morning. They're absolutely free. The suggestion is you let Boris know that you're coming. So send a note to 488-2151. That's 488-2151, and say, I'm going to be there, so make sure you've got plenty of coffee and biscuits and whatever it is, so that me and my friends can be comfortable. So
now, why should people do this? Because the federal government buys
everything. Any product, any service, the federal government, they need those edible packing materials. Somebody has got to provide to the federal government edible packing materials for the guys. Obviously, we know that they might even be buying patches for the guys over at HC at 25. Did you hear about that? No. Bunch of Navy guys from around here are in trouble. Well, at least they're with the Guam version. I gotta find the story, and because I printed it out for you. But a bunch of guys from HSC 25 were listening to a speech provided by President Donald Trump recently, and they were seen to be wearing "Make Air Crew Great Again" patches with the image of Donald Trump on it, and they have been busted now by the actual Pentagon.
That's a no-no?
Apparently, you're not supposed to. Here's the image that got these guys in trouble. If you're watching on Facebook Live, "Make Air Crew Great Again." Now, I love these guys to begin with. As I said, they're responsible for plucking people by helicopter out of ravines and jungle spaces on Guam. We like them for that. They got out there and help recover bodies when people drown out at sea. The least pleasant thing, I'm sure, that they've got to do when they get to Guam, and just trying to lighten things up a little bit. Got the president there, they got the patches, and so they've apparently been busted by the Pentagon. No indication of what their punishment is, and my guess is because the Pentagon didn't necessarily want to get into it too deep. Otherwise, President Trump would come in and make all these guys generals. I'm sorry, you're an admiral, and you're an admiral, and you're air crew admirals here. That's what we've got for the first time ever in the history of this man's Navy. We'll see how that played out. And then a conversation we hope to have before the end of the hour. And maybe you can chime in on this with your thoughts. Guys over at the Chamber are trying to drive, and I've asked but have not received any guidance on how Adelup is going to approach this. But the Chamber, not surprisingly, wants to hold off on the increase in the minimum wage. It was supposed to go into effect in March. They want to hold off until September because we've got the coronavirus, and it is having an impact on reservations and stays in beautiful Tumon Bay.
Yeah, I did the math on this because they put the number of 3,500 people that will get a raise, and if you annualize it, it's $3.5 million. That's so $300,000 a month roughly is what would be kicking in. Okay, when the law goes into effect. So, I mean, when you start throwing numbers around, that's the number you want to throw around. $300,000 a month is what the business community or employers would be anteing up more than what they're doing now.
Not all of them are going to be in the hospitality industry?
No.
So that's a consideration. So how does that factor in your head? Do you think it would be a good idea to hold off on it, or do you think that the number is small enough so as to be manageable by these businesses, even in the face of a slowdown in business?
So we've got 1,500 cancellations at this point. Is that right?
I think it's in thousands.
Is it more than
14? It's 14,000.
14,000 cancellations.
Yeah, 14,000.
Okay. That's considerable.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that's considerable. So I think that might be grounds to hang on, at least to take a look and let's slow the process down and let's see how this is trending. I mean, is 14,000 going to go to 30,000? I mean, the coronavirus in the last 3 days, they say that the number of new cases has slowed in China. Can you trust their reporting? I don't know. But maybe we can get information from various sources and figure that out. If it's trending downward and they're getting control of it, maybe we're not going to get all that many more cancellations. Yeah. However, if the information is otherwise, and we're thinking that, well, this is going to turn to 30 and 50 and 70,000 cancellations, that's serious stuff.
Then there's the other great debatable, and that is we turned a cruise ship away that, as it turns out, didn't actually have any coronavirus on it. And now they're in Cambodia, literally having the time of their lives. I'll explain why in a little bit. This is what you do when your company is facing some kind of a disaster, and I'll tell you how they handled it with the Western Dam. So we turned the cruise ship away, but there is this basketball tournament that's coming up that is still on, and arguably it will have people from the Hong Kongs that might have had contact with somebody that might have been to China recently and went to Wuhan. Do we turn that opportunity away like we did with the cruise ship?
Hard. It's a difficult decision. I think at this point, my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that's why
I'm not involved with the basketball thing, obviously, and there are people who have vested interests in here. Right now, I think because we don't know enough, and we don't have any cases here in Guam yet. Am I right? Maybe you have to err on the side of caution.
That we know of, because
That we know of, yeah.
If you caught over the weekend, there was a traveler that went to Hawaii as a Japanese tourist who went to Hawaii and had no symptoms up until the very end of the
And now
trip.
he's back in Japan. And
Back in Japan with coronavirus, and now they're worried. They're trying to retrace his steps in Hawaii.
Who'd you talk to? Who'd you see? Yeah,
And how
And
difficult
that could be a
is
link to
that?
Guam. So, we don't know.
So, and displayed absolutely no symptoms while he was
Which is
on his
common.
trip.
They say that you've got to check repeatedly now. Is another article that I'm hearing about. Is you may have the virus on you, but you might not have symptoms, and you might test negative for this for several times before it turns into full-blown coronavirus. So there's a lot of touch and go on. I don't know that I would have restricted it. If it came down to me, I would have said, it's a basketball team. How many guys are we talking about? Between the number of guys on the team and management, 20, 25? 30 guys, that's easy to follow. I mean, 3,000 people on a cruise ship, that's one thing. I just open the doors and say, have a good time, enjoy paradise. But in this case, we know who these guys are. We know exactly where they're going to be staying. We know exactly what they're going to be doing. Their whole itinerary can be surveilled and controlled so that if there is somebody that might have the virus that might not be showing any symptoms, we'd be able to see exactly where they were, who they were with, and how long they were there.
Yeah, but what happened? Well, again, devil's advocate.
Yeah.
How about where they were before they came? I mean, and who they connected with, and what is the incubation process or the length of time it takes to figure if you have this?
I don't know. I
don't know.
I guess the point is, it's one thing to be cautious. It's another one to seal up the borders and everybody kind of retreat back into their houses and don't touch. I've noticed one of the other things I've noticed recently is every time I go in to kiss somebody on the cheek, more often than not, I'm being greeted with a forehead. More often than not, they got the head down thing. It's like, okay, I like this. This is nice. It's affection. We like each other. Okay, but here's the forehead.
I would think
give me a kiss in the hair.
I would think maybe they're like a headbutt.
It's possible they've always been doing it, and I just never noticed. It's 7:29 in the morning, and Jerry Roberts has got the extra point. Sorry, he acts so long. Headline's going to be coming in a little bit late this morning because I do want to get to this. It's brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank, where it all starts with yes.
In the last 3 episodes, we've talked about why good workers pick up and leave. Well, today, what to do to get them to stay. And that's next on the Extra Point.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
We buy a homeowner's policy and never give it another thought until something happens. Life brings changes, and our coverage needs can change. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
All employers want to retain their best talent. There's no doubt about that. What they do to make sure that happens is a mixed bag. Now, let's see what will help people get and keep people on the payroll. Now, we talked the last week about all the things that, you don't want to do. If you just do some of these things I'm going to talk about, you're probably going to be okay. Now, in general, what we want to do is this. Number one, let the worker feel we have an interest in them and their career. 2, follow through on our commitments. If we promise something, make it happen. If we can't for some reason, be straight about it and tell the workers when we think we can. Number 3, be consistent in how we treat people with emphasis on how we apply the rules of the workplace. 4, let the worker feel we have an interest in them and their career. 5, the best workers have ideas. Don't ignore them. Let people know we appreciate their participation and discuss how and when we might be able to use them. 6, include them in decision-making and help them improve those skills. 7, if there are problem workers who are a regular disruption and distraction, and our best people are complaining about them and about what is not being done to deal with the situation, don't hide and hope things will somehow magically work out. Get with your HR specialist and discuss your options, and then make the appropriate decisions. Number 8, let the worker feel we have an interest in them and their career. Number 9, have a good feedback strategy. As we said the other day, when we have good things to say to or about an employee, we should do it in public and in front of as many people as possible. If it's negative feedback, it's private, period. We never talk about anybody behind their back unless it's to praise them. 10, management should follow the same rules which are in place for all workers. People will judge us as hypocritical if we break the policies we hold them to. 11, praise workers regularly and effectively and go out of our way to show them we appreciate their contributions. And oh, I forgot one. Let the worker feel we have an interest in them and their career. One other point. Younger workers are tuned into these things to a greater degree than other generations. An example, millennials are focused on 3 employee benefits more than others. In a survey on this topic, 14% voted for better compensation and cash bonuses. 19% wanted flexible working hours. And 22%, the number one benefit desired, 22% wanted more training and development. None of this is magic. Most of it is common sense. Basic management skills, caring about others, and investing in making people better. This is how you keep the best workers in the years ahead. Oh, and there's one more thing. Let the worker feel we have an interest in them and their career. That's the extra point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, The Ray Gibson Show, Guahan Insurance Services, and First Hawaiian Bank. I'm Jerry Roberts.
That's right, taking an interest. I mean, employees are human, too.
Yes, they are.
What a revelation. 7:33. All right, so before we get into the headlines, we were talking about the cruise ship. And there's a great business there's something to learn here. It's a great lesson for businesses. What to do when you're confronted with some kind of a disaster. I mean, and for these people, it could have been. There's a whole lot of people say, oh, those poor people aboard the MS Westerdam and the cruise ship, and it couldn't find a harbor to pour in. What a terrible life it must have been for them. And the answer is no, absolutely not. Everybody says, poor you, but we had free internet, free wine, they had 3-course meals waiting for them all day long. There was so much choice. How was it? One retired nurse said, lovely. The 1,544 passengers and 802 crew had never expected a port stop in Hong Kong to metastasize into full-blown fear that some of the passengers carried the coronavirus that emerged in Wuhan. Turned away by Japan, Taiwan, Guam, the Philippines, and Thailand, it was Cambodia who finally let the lost ship dock, and it was discovered that there were no passengers affected. The only complaint on board? Apparently, they ran out of hash browns a few days ago and tomato sauce, but everything else is fine. What? No hash browns?
Give me more wine.
It was Valentine's Day when they pulled in, so as they disembarked from the Westerdam, the Prime Minister of Cambodia, Hun Sen, flew in from the capital, shook hands with everybody, handed out roses to the customers, to the passengers on board. Welcome to Cambodia banners, and everybody that got off were given free visas. So thanks for coming. Stay as long as you like. Wow. Holland America, and now this is the business lesson for the carrier. Holland America sent letters to all of the passengers saying they would be reimbursed for the cost of the cruise.
Wow.
Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm. It gets better. They were given another 2-week cruise for free.
Wow. Reimbursed and another one.
And since many of them need to get home to get on the new free ship, they've got chartered air flights for them back home. And if you paid for first class accommodations on the ship, guess which part of the airplane you're sitting in?
Yeah.
So they are going to match it. They're going to do their best to match the class of flight that was originally booked. And another bonus: the cruise had been scheduled to end in Shanghai on Valentine's Day in Shanghai. It was 14 degrees Celsius, overcast and raining. When they pulled into Cambodia, about 27 degrees, what we get here, and sunny skies. The best cruise ever, said retired Canadian aerospace engineer Pierre Ashby. Wow. Usually you buy a cruise and you know exactly what you're going to get. This was an adventure. His wife was sitting beside him in a yellow bathing suit with 2 red roses, barefoot in the sand. He smiled and gestured out to sea. Take your time.
So
Take your time.
Take your time. What's the overriding lesson here?
Oh, my God. You kill them with customer service.
You kill them with customer. Here's the thing. Now, I don't fault anybody here in Guam that made that decision. Okay, you make the best decision you can at the time, given the information that you have. Okay, no problem there. But Cambodia made a decision to do it differently. Okay, it could have been bad. Could have turned out bad. They thought it wouldn't. But when they made the decision finally, what did they do? They went all in max 10.
Yeah.
I mean, they said, if we're going to do this, let's do it. President of the country is handing out roses. Prime Minister handing out roses. I mean, and then the carrier, the Holland America, right, or whatever, and they give free things and
these guys
giving their money back and
had
airline
the
tickets.
Experience of their life, and they'll be repeat visitors.
Oh yeah,
of
yeah.
course, of course. But that's what they did. They went all in and said, if we're going to do this, let's let it all out.
It is now a national response. We've got the entire country is behind this, and we want to be the most hospitable folks in the whole wide world. My attitude about Cambodia has completely changed over as a result of just reading that story.
But there's your business lesson. Go on. If you're going to do something, do it big time.
7:37 in the morning. That's Jerry Roberts in the Extra Point. Time for headlines, being brought to you by Auntie Lolita Cammett of Remax Diamond Realty. For all of your real estate needs, give her a call, 688-6743. That's 688-6743 for Lolita Cammett. Now, with news from the Guam Daily Post, here's Montecillo Tyron.
A man accused in a knife incident in Sinahanya remains behind bars. He's being held on $10,000 bail. 21-year-old Tommyson Nikot, charged with aggravated assault. He's accused of throwing a knife into a passing car, injuring the passenger. He appeared in court over the weekend. Meanwhile, detainees from the Aganya detention facility are being moved. DOC trying to ease up the overcrowding. The 45 detainees and inmates taken to domes at the Mangilao compound. The transfer in direct response to the ongoing concerns over inhumane conditions at the Aganya lockup. Federal detainees and inmates took their concerns to court. Another hearing will be held on February 24th. And 14,000 visitors have canceled their travel plans to Guam, and as tourism-related businesses are already feeling the pinch on their revenues, the Chamber of Commerce is urging the governor to pause the implementation of a minimum wage hike set to take place in March. The chamber is requesting to delay this year's increase to September 1st. They say the impact to the current crisis could translate to a 33% reduction in income for employees directly or indirectly involved in the tourism industry. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can log on to the website at postguam.com.
Very good. 7:38 in the morning, swing by the nearest iConnect. They've got one at the Micronesia Mall. People at the Micronesia Mall want you to go by there and check out, I want to say an all-new location, but they've done some revamping in there and gone in with some serious technology, like iPhones that they've got there, all the different kinds of, all the different versions of the iPhone 11, plus all the accessories that you need to make the iPhone life fun. AirPods Pros, chargers, and all the cables that you will need to connect up your iPhone to the Mac, because that's still the only way. Isn't that weird? It's still like the only way that you can, the only way that I've discovered to get pictures from my phone into the computer is I've got to, for whatever reason, they're not syncing up on the Apple Cloud, so I need to cable it. I'm looking at, these are Windows people in the studio, obviously. All right. What, are you Mac guy? Okay, so why is it then that I cannot do that? What am I doing wrong?
Because it's proprietary and they want you to have to do it their way.
Buy the cable, Gibson.
That's the Apple way.
Got to be 20 away from 8 o'clock in the morning. That's all of us in the news and all of that, and that's iConnect time.
Lolita Cammett from Remax Diamond Realty, a friendly, hardworking, and passionate Remax professional who is committed to helping you make a difference in your life and helping you achieve the American dream of home ownership. She also specializes in commercial leasing, land sales, local residential sales leasing, military, and corporate relocation. So for all your real estate needs, call Lolita Cammett from Remax Diamond Realty at 688-6743. That's 688-6743.
Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and on the U.S. mainland are here to support you. So call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com.
22, Joe says I got to take care of the real life traffic and right now traffic here on the point. Is that what I'm doing now? Oh, I got to do the live read. For who again?
Denny's.
I can do that one off the top of my head because I know about the food they've got over at the first time I ever in my life heard the word slam. As it relates to food was when they first opened up the Denny's at the Micronesia Mall years ago, and I went in there and they had this breakfast slam in there, and it had everything that I wanted on it, and I'm so glad that they continue to have that. Plus they've got all kinds of and as Denny's has grown, I have grown older. When they first opened up the Denny's, I was still in my rockin' 20s, and now here we are. Right? Has it been that long?
Yes.
Oh, I'm freaking out here. Wait.
Did you say rockin' 20s?
I was rockin' 20s. I was
it's
followed
been
by
that
rockin'
long.
30s, rockin' 40s, rockin' 50s, and pretty soon rockin' 60s. But Denny's has been around, and now that I'm 55 plus, another eating option there, because if you are a senior,
Slam.
what's that?
Guam Slam.
Guam Slam. 55 and up, you get special menu that comes with free super salad for lunch and dinner time. Not 55, well, show them your valid AARP card, and you get 10% discount on your meals as well at Denny's.
Imagine this. Your daughter is at the college bookstore and calls you to tell you that her textbooks cost a little more than what she has in her account. But you have a meeting in 10 minutes and you can't escape the office. What do? With Bank of Guam's mobile app and person-to-person feature, you're able to instantly send money between your BOG accounts. Just open the app, transfer her some extra cash, and she'll be ringing up before your meeting even starts. Download the app today. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
All right, coming up, we'll talk minimum wage and the possibility of holding things off. We'll see about traffic right now. Not as bad as it would normally be. I think that's a little bit of the President's Day effect. If people like Simon Sanchez aren't going to work, well, imagine how much better it's going to be on the roads. A little bit over at the schools because the schools are open, but mostly intersection traffic right now. In fact, looking at the maps here on the Gizmo, it looks like it's already in the 8 o'clock hour. I've got some traffic slowing things down over at 10 and 15, but that's about the only place that you're going to see that. A little bit of traffic over by Cars Plus up in Mighty, and that one turn that'll take you onto the Magahaga Highway and then into the airport area, just intersection traffic through there as well. A little bit of traffic getting into and out of the downtown Agutnia area, most especially over by where we've got that construction on Route 4 over by Shirley's, which is never ever going to end. I'm looking at that, because it's something that somebody reminded me. Go ahead and kill the music. That's right now traffic here on the point, but something that we were talking about. Do you drive in by Petey?
Yes.
And how long in the Assun-Petey area has that construction been going on the side? How long? They've got a generator there.
Over 10 years.
Right? Yeah. Well, it feels like over 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's like 2 years that they've had that, where there's this little pipe. Not a pipe.
And there was like two spots, right? They separated.
They do it all the time.
Into one.
Yeah. So we've got those two merge areas, but there's other construction that's going on there. And so you've got this thing. It's blowing air from one manhole cover all the way across the roadway to another manhole cover. And I'm going, what are they doing down there, and why is it taking so long? If I was the resident of the Assun-Petey area, I would be asking that question every day, because there's traffic there and construction, or looks like there's supposed to be something going on every day. And so I was remarking that with a friend. I said, how long has that been? He says, at least 2 years since it's been like that. Inquiring minds want to know. 7:44 in the morning. Christine Boletto is coming up next.
Docomo Pacific wants to keep your business connected. When you sign up for a smart business bundle, you're gaining more than just mobile, internet, and phone services. Receive unbeatable value for your money and the convenience of having it all on one bill. All your business services on the widest and fastest network in Guam and the Marianas. Call 688-2677 for more information on partnering your business. Docomo Pacific Business, delivering your future today.
7:45 in the morning, 888-825-5888-TALK. You've been listening to this program long enough. You know how I feel about the minimum wage and the artificial manipulation of the minimum wage by the people over at the legislature. And arguably, you say, well, they do that now. Because they want to get reelected. And I said, well, they did it in about the dumbest way possible. And this was the first sign in my mind that we were dealing with the worst legislature in Guam's history, as they couldn't even get that right. So for political gain, they make a big deal about increasing the minimum wage by a whole $1. And then it didn't take effect right away. They go, oh, March, we'll do this in March. That's when we'll see the increase go up by 50 cents. There will be another one, but it will be on the other side of the elections. So if you were trying to make a political point, by the time anybody gets that full $1 raise, guess what? You'll be out of office already. Nobody is going to remember about the paltry increase that you legislated. Frankly, you could have done a whole better job and given everybody on Guam a raise by rolling back the business privilege tax. But no. Anyway, those were my thoughts at the time, and feel free to agree, disagree. 888-825-5888-TALK. There's another view that the Chamber of Commerce is undergoing right now. Now you're chairman of the chamber, right, Chris?
Oh, sorry. You kind of went blank for a moment there. I started to panic.
It's only me. Mana says you're a hoot because you guys used to work together in the last administration.
She's so much fun.
Oh my gosh, I love Mana. Hi, Mana.
Hi there.
So are you? I forget what the roles are at the chamber. Are you the chairman or the president?
Kat is the president, and I'm the chairwoman of the board.
Okay, there we go. So remind me later on to call Kat and wish her happy President's Day.
Will do.
Okay, gotcha. So for the position of the chair now, we want to hold off, if not eliminate the increase in the minimum wage until time in the future where it makes sense and we're not battling on a global scale the economic impacts of the coronavirus, right?
That's correct. I mean, just fundamentally, we're against any kind of legislation that mandates wages. Mm-hmm. We feel that the market should dictate what is paid, and oftentimes what you'll find, especially in, our economy where unemployment is very low, it really is the employee's market. We're forced to pay higher wages because we want to keep good employees, but, it's kind of like when you legislate that minimum wage and then you worry about compression and then you've got the GRT hitting you, it's really tough for businesses out there.
There are a bunch of people that are going to go, well, I mean, that's what happens. You put your capital at risk and you take chances out in the market and you deal with the force factors that are out there, up to and including a legislature that, while they might have run talking about great economic reforms and strides for industry and economy here on Guam, took every advantage of the opportunity to increase taxes that businesses collect on behalf of their clients, on behalf of their customers. So I'm with you. I'm with you. I think one of the things that we're starting to see in the U.S. mainland is because unemployment is so low, and even in stressed demographics, we're seeing the numbers go so low that businesses are paying beyond minimum wage, significant numbers, in order to attract the best and the brightest of the unemployed, but also to attract away the employed that might be working for their competitors.
That's correct.
That's how you get the numbers up around here, and you encourage new business and you encourage new industry that will pay higher wages if you want to be able to try to drive that legislatively. This is going to go into effect on March 1st. When did you send the note out to the governor to try to hold off?
We sent it last week. Of course, with the news on the cancellations of a lot of the tourist packages and people coming to Guam on flights and so forth, we know that our tourism industry is going to be hard-pressed. And, it's funny because I had a conversation with one of the senators, and, I was telling them, it's really going to hurt our economy. I mean, we have a study that says one in three jobs are directly or indirectly affected by tourism, mm-hmm. which is like 33% of our economy. And so the response was, well, it's only 3,000 workers out of 60,000 workers on Guam, and most of them are in housekeeping. And I'm like, yeah, that's where it's going to hit.
Yeah. The ground actual zero, guys.
That was my point. Mm-hmm. It's like it's going to hit hardest in the hotels. And that's the industry that's going to be most affected by these cancellations. So
Christine, it's already happening. Christine, it's already happening. You and I both know people in the hotel business, and hourly employees are having their schedules changed just enough so that they can maintain some of their benefits as full-time employees. Part-timers are losing their hours almost completely, and salaried employees are being asked to pick up the slack. So we're seeing some people working longer and bigger weeks, but not necessarily getting compensated extra for it because they are at that salaried level. We are already seeing that's already happening in hotels and facilities throughout Tumon right now as we speak.
Well, can you imagine when this minimum wage goes into effect? The hotels are going to be harder pressed to be able to afford, paying what they do have, and so those cuts can go deeper. And the worst is potentially layoffs, for these employees until our tourism industry rebounds. Mm-hmm. And so, that was kind of the request. And, we sent an official letter to the governor, but we also had our Delegado mixer last week, Wednesday. And so for the senators that came out, we talked one-on-one with them and, asked for their support and asked for their consideration because, we're getting a lot of, small businesses and hotel industry representatives calling the chamber and asking for assistance.
Mm-hmm. Other than going back to the same government that's already made this proposal, what do you think they're going to be doing with it? I sent a note to Tony Babauta earlier this morning. I think he's still traveling. I think he's still stateside. But I wanted to find out what the position from Adelup was going to be on this request from the chamber. It doesn't seem to me to be too much that we're asking for. Just hold off until September, and if we're lucky, if we hold our noses right and fingers crossed, we might actually be able to see the end of this coronavirus. But as we have learned in the last just couple of weeks, there's a lot we don't know about the coronavirus, and we don't know what the long-term impact is. Even Moody's said that Guam and the NMI were going to be hit hardest by this because the majority of our customers, the majority of our cancellations are coming from these Asian destinations, these Asian markets, Koreas and Hong Kongs and Chinas.
That's correct, and we're already seeing the news reports of CNMI reducing hours of their workers. That's
60 hours.
Impactful, and we're not there yet where it's hit the government, but it will. The longer this goes on, and the harder hit we are, it's going to trickle all the way through the economy and will, result in lower collections for the government.
752. The question is, there's always the decision tree, and actions have to have a consequence. So if the chamber is asking of the government representatives to hold off on this minimum wage, to freeze the wages where they are right now, what happens if they ignore the chamber? What happens if the governors, and it wouldn't be the first time that anybody over at Adelup has said, yeah, okay, whatever, guys, we're still going to do our thing, and I want to keep this BPT forever, as opposed to the first ideas that it wasn't going to be with us forever. So what happens if they don't see eye to eye with you in the chamber?
Well, we definitely need to go back to our membership and have those discussions and kind of, figure out what's our next steps. Everything is just kind of preliminary, and, we have not heard back from the administration. We understand that the governor is traveling as well, so we're hoping this week when she gets back that she'll support us on this, and, we're going to, continue to contact the senators and try to get, some kind of commitment from them and hope that they see, I can't imagine that it's not clear, crystal clear, that, this is going to have a phenomenal impact on our tourism industry, and there is ramifications to employees. And, at the end of the day, we want to preserve as much of their wages as possible, considering this upcoming crisis.
754. Christine, I wish you very good luck on that. A note here, and I'll back up to play with the chamber and supply some ads. And generally, the way it has worked in crises like this before, where we had bird flu or SARS or earthquakes or we were at war or something like that. In the past, one of the things that we've done is tried to send the message out to the local community that there's business in Tumon, and now's a good time to stay in a hotel. Now's a good time to go and check out some of the new dining locations that they've gotten down there. So I guess the point is advertise, buy local as much as you can to the locals in the military that are here, that are still working. So you want to put together a radio campaign with some promos and things like that to remind listeners to go out and eat in Tumon every once in a while, to talk to our military members of the audience and have them coming out and supporting local businesses as much as possible. Be happy to run them for you.
Wonderful. I will be definitely letting our chamber board know, and we'll try to get the message out. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you tell Chris I'm happy to do that because I'm late in paying my bill. I'm laughing, but that's actually true. Because business, that's why. Listen, it's fun talking with you. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
And there's the Chamber Chairman, Christine Boleto, this morning. They are asking the government of Guam to hold off on the implementation of the minimum wage increase that was voted into law last year, passed into law last year, and will be promptly forgotten by the time it gets to be time for these people to go out and vote in the upcoming election, which is why, as I said, this is the most visible display of just how brain dead the movers of that legislation was. Anyway, 7:56 in the morning. Can I say, it's I'm generally not a frowny face guy. But when I see things that give me hope, I gotta do that thing with my voice. I gotta Jimmy Carter, that give me Bill Clinton. When I see things that give me hope, you gotta say hope the same way you say home and mother, that kind of thing. I'm trying to fake the sincerity here. Is it working?
Let it out.
Let it out.
Let
Say it, honey boy. So here, this gives me actual hope. That there are people in the government of Guam that are concerned about keeping things, I don't know, forthright and following the rules. So there's a rule that says that you shouldn't abandon your car on the side of the road. There is an abandoned vehicle not too far away from my house, and there were a couple on Route 8. Did you see it? Route 16?
I saw one by Barragata Heights that looked like the vultures got it.
Already, there's two. There's one that was like right off the road.
Yeah.
The PT Cruiser's gone. I mean, that thing has
The
been.
Cruiser, when I saw the up
took
on
all the
blocks,
wheels.
yeah,
The second millennium's already got that.
Come to find out that rims are quite expensive.
Yeah, and then you got then there's another one that's parked just off the road, right at the
like
turn.
a Tercel or a Corolla.
Got to watch out for that because it's a dark car and there's not a whole lot of lights in the area.
It's kind of on the road.
It's kind of on the road. Yeah. My guess, I would be surprised if it didn't already have a couple of scrapes.
Could you have died out a little bit further off the road?
Right, push the thing. 757. But this sign here gives me hope. As I said, there's a vehicle not too far away from my house that has been parked on the side of the road, and it wouldn't normally be a problem because there's a lot of cars parked in it. But it's parked right there at a bend in the road, and it's narrow enough as it is. But now that you've got a car that's not moved, it makes it so everybody has to kind of stop. It's almost one lane now going through there. Anyway, so the mayor, I'm assuming the mayors, went out and put a couple of these big signs on the car. Said vehicle must be removed in 48 hours or be towed at the owner's expense. Vehicle is impeding traffic, and I saw that and I said, there is a God.
This could be like a country song.
Right? Thank you very much, somebody, for noticing the impediment to traffic and doing something about it.
And he used paper tape too, so that's going to be something to pull off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been there for a while.
But
here's the thing, though.
48 hours to pull this tape off your window.
I don't know when the 48 hours started. Now I took this picture at 4:30 this morning.
Okay.
So 4:30 this morning. It was there yesterday.
So we'll check.
And it was
4:30 on Wednesday.
Yeah. So was it? Well, no, because it was the sign was there yesterday.
Okay.
So I don't know when on Saturday it went on the car. I'm pretty sure it went on sometime Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning when the mayor's guys were driving around. But here's the thing: if the vehicle is not moved tomorrow, then we know that this is
then
just
we leave a
a
note
paper
for the
tiger.
mayor.
Yeah, it says, hey man, you put the thing up there, you cite the guy now. 7:59 and change. The radio station is KUSG. Got you 93.3. Coming up in the next hour of the program, Montesilva's got news after the Fox News and their delivery of all of their big stories. So we're going to have our own local versions of that as well. What do we do in the 8 o'clock hour? Try to pretend to talk about sports, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what I can scrounge up for sports and other interesting conversation as the Ray Gibson Show continues. 93.3, this is The Point.
Too close for comfort. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. More than 1,100 former federal prosecutors and Justice Department officials calling on Attorney General William Barr to step down for intervening in the case of President Trump's longtime friend, Roger Stone.
The prosecutors for the Justice Department wanted Stone to face between 7 to 9 years behind bars. Department leaders, though, they decided to step in and push for a shorter sentence. That has left some Democrats outraged. The White House says it still has full faith and confidence in the Attorney General. That support came after Barr criticized the president's constant tweets and comments on ongoing cases. Today, a senior White House official told Fox News that the president really has no plans to stop speaking out.
Fox's Mark Meredith covering the president in West Palm Beach. The president, meanwhile, decided to go for a Sunday drive at the Daytona 500.
We love our country, and it's truly an honor to be with all of you at the great American race. Gentlemen, start your engines.
The president and first lady taking a lap around the track in the presidential limo known as the Beast. Democrats vying to challenge the president in November are stumping in Nevada ahead of the state caucuses on Saturday.
The function of health care is to provide quality care to all, not to make huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies.
Bernie Sanders holding a rally in Carson City. A Las Vegas Review-Journal poll released last week shows Sanders leading the field, followed by Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Some candidates will take the debate stage in Vegas on Wednesday.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
Elton John apologizing to fans for cutting a concert short in New Zealand because of health problems. Sir Elton saying he was diagnosed with walking pneumonia, but felt the show must go on and sang until his voice could sing no more. America is listening to Fox News.
Yikes, are those Christmas bills coming in? Wait, hold on, that was last month. Now it's this month. But by popular demand, we're extending our New Year's solution 4.65% personal loan through February. Money for whatever you want at 4.65% APR from Bank Pacific. We're still celebrating.
Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Equal credit opportunity lender as low as 4.65%. Conditions apply.
Half a day. This is Alicia Blas from Security Title with a gentle reminder that your first installment of property taxes is due February 20. You might not know, but if you purchase property after March 4, 2019, you most likely will not receive a tax bill in the mail, but you still owe the tax. To make payment, take a copy of your deed to Revenue Tax in Barragata and ask for the tax bill. When it comes to your family land, call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
The U.S. evacuating hundreds of Americans from a cruise ship in Japan quarantined because of the coronavirus.
They will board chartered flights back to the U.S. One of those flights will land at Travis Air Force Base here in California, and the other will go to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. Once they arrive in the U.S., these passengers will have to undergo an additional 14-day quarantine. And today, Japan announced another 70 coronavirus infections from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, increasing the ship's total number of cases to 355. 46 Americans on that ship were infected with the virus.
Fox's Christina Coleman. Mississippi bracing for near-record flooding in and around Jackson as the swollen Pearl River continues to rise.
State law enforcement has gone door to door to alert residents to evacuate if there is a high likelihood that water will be entering their area.
Governor Tate Reeves saying the state is facing a precarious situation that can turn at any moment. Officials expect the river to crest at 37.5 feet tomorrow. Tour groups told to take a hike from Europe's most famous red light district.
Amsterdam banning tours from taking visitors past the windows in the city's red light district where semi-naked sex workers pose. The canal-side streets have become tourist attractions, but the local government says those working are regularly abused and photographed without their consent. The ban starts in April in the latest effort to clean up the district and protect its sex workers. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Dashing to the top of the box office.
Why are you hiding out in my garage?
They're coming for me! If they steal my power, they could conquer the universe. You have to help me.
No, I don't. Please. It's life or death.
Sonic the Hedgehog grossing an estimated $57 million, the best showing ever for a video game adaptation. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his smile team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his smile team. Suite 119 in the East West Business Center, Upper Tumon. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his smile team.
They make smiles happen.
Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and on the U.S. mainland are here to support you. So call 588-4651 or visit www.apl.com.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Today it's 8:06. I'm Ana Silva Tyron with a look at your local news from the Guam Daily Post. 2 miners were injured in a house fire in Dededo on Sunday afternoon. A call was made to 911 of the fire on Chalanbalaku at about 1:08 p.m. The Guam Fire Department's units arrived within several minutes and evacuated the occupants. The 2 were transported to the Guam Memorial Hospital for minor injuries, but their condition isn't known. The fire was placed under control soon after GFD arrived at the scene. The longtime building inspector and permit administrator with the Department of Public Works has resigned amidst an investigation into potential conflicts of interest. Joseph Guevara resigned in December in the middle of an investigation. According to a statement from DPW's director, Vincent Areola, the department became aware of the potential conflicts in the fall of last year. The investigation is in coordination with the Office of the Attorney General. It isn't clear whether the contractors he'd worked with are also under investigation, but Areola says it is possible that the contractors were victims. The Guam Daily Post couldn't reach Guevara for comment. The Post also attempted to contact Guevara's wife, Janine Guevara, who is a real estate agent. It is alleged that the Joe Guevara signed off on permits for developers who were working on properties which were being sold by his wife, which would have been a conflict of interest. Janine Guevara has also listed herself as a candidate for senator in the upcoming election. More than 45 local detainees and inmates at the Department of Corrections in Agana were bused to the Department of Corrections compound in Manila last week. The transfer was in direct response to the ongoing concerns that conditions at the prison are inhumane. The inmates are now being held in the prison's domes. DOC spokesman Major Anton Uggan says that the move was made to alleviate overcrowding. Before the move, the Agana lockup had more than 160 detainees and inmates confined. Uggan says DOC's leadership is looking to further reduce the density of the prison population. He also said the federal detainees in Agana were shifted to other areas so that prison staff can clean and paint the cells and repair plumbing and lighting issues. It was last week that 9 federal detainees and inmates appeared in the U.S. District Court to talk about inhumane and unconstitutional conditions at the prison. And they say their 8th Amendment rights are being violated. Another hearing is scheduled for February 24th. The Guam Chamber of Commerce is seeking a delay by a few months in the implementation of Guam's minimum wage increase, this in light of the rising number of tourist arrival cancellations as a result of the coronavirus. The Chamber is requesting to delay this year's increase to September 1st. That increase set to take place on March 1st. Chamber Chairwoman Christine Boleto said that the Chamber's letter, the impact of this current crisis could translate to a 33% reduction in income for employees directly and indirectly involved in the tourism industry. The detrimental effect on our economy and community, she says, would be significant. Guam law states that the minimum wage must increase from $8.25 to $8.75 by March 1st. About 3,500 tourism workers are set to see an increase in their pay. And 2 people have been placed under arrest after a woman alleged that she had been sexually assaulted by a couple known to the victim while she was in middle and high school. 46-year-old Natasha Peters and 46-year-old Dwayne Peters each face charges of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and second-degree criminal sexual conduct. Natasha Peters charged additionally with guilt established by complicity and conspiracy. Dwayne Peters facing an additional charge of family violence. The Guam Police Department's domestic assault response team made the arrest. The woman reported the allegations to authorities back in March of last year. After multiple failed attempts to locate the couple, detectives learned that Dwayne Peters had relocated to Saipan. He was arrested as he was arriving on February 15th at the Guam International Airport. Both were interviewed at GPD headquarters and are now being held at the Mangilao detention facility. And a 74-year-old man accused of inappropriately touching a 9-year-old girl known to him has been released from prison on the condition that he stay away from the girl. Alberto Lumbang, charged with second-degree criminal sexual conduct. He appeared in court over the weekend. He's now being held on $10,000 bail. According to court documents, police responded to a criminal sexual conduct complaint at a local elementary school. The child told police that the incidents took place between July and November of last year. More news after this.
GRMC's Neuroscience and Neurology Department treats a wide spectrum of disorders associated with the nervous system, spine, and brain. Some of the more common disorders include seizures, epilepsy, dementia, sleep disorders, migraine, and stroke, which is one of the leading causes of death on Guam. GRMC's neuroscience team is equipped with the latest technology and the finest neurological doctors. To make an appointment, contact GRMC Specialty Clinics at 645-5500.
There's a new ban on plastic items in the FSM, but the new law does allow for the importation of reusable and recycled plastic. The ban is of disposable plastic foam, plastic food service items, and plastic shopping bags. However, the president of the FSM was clear to state if it is reusable, recycled, or biodegradable, it can be allowed to be brought in. The move by the FSM follows a ban on some sunscreen creams by the Republic of Palau in 2018 because their ingredients include oxybenzone, which can harm coral and other sea life. And the U.S. naval-based Guam security forces and other first responders will be put to test during the 4-day exercise this week. The Command Assessment of Readiness and Training Program begins tomorrow. It will evaluate the installation's ability to respond to various scenarios. The regularly scheduled exercise will be held at Naval Base Guam and Apra Harbor and will incorporate blank ammunition fire as part of the simulated attacks. Residents shouldn't be alarmed if they see or hear an increase in exercise-related activity. It'll be around Big Navy and Apra Harbor from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday through Friday. And those are some of your top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Here now is Ray with your weather.
One news story to pass along. I just got a note from a pal that works over at Guam Regional Transit Authority, and they've got a problem with their phone lines this morning. So there's only one number that you can call for incoming, one number incoming for a GRTA. That number is 475-4686, 475-4686. Now, the reason why this is an important deal is because that's how people get around is by calling GRTA and say, send a bus up in this direction, or I could use some transportation. Again, 475-4686 is the only incoming line that is working over at GRTA. My assumption is the outgoing lines are out. Otherwise, Jennifer would have called in this note as opposed to texting it in. All right, here comes the weather. Partly cloudy with isolated showers today. Winds out of the east, 15 to 20 miles an hour. Expected highs today, 87 degrees. For tonight and Tuesday, there's partly cloudy skies and isolated showers. More of those easterly winds blowing up to about 20 miles an hour. Overnight lows 74 degrees, and daytime highs should be about 87 degrees. Sunrise this morning was at 6:43. Should be about the same tomorrow morning. And sunset tonight, round up the crew. Will be in the usual spot at 6:26 p.m. It's 8:13. That's news and weather together. This is The Point.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo, 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Got you, buddy. Portions of the Ray Gibson Show being brought to you by American President Lines, APL Global Presence with a local home. Guys over at Denny's, and you know they got that deal I was telling you about last hour with seniors age 55 and up getting a special menu. Well, did you know that kids can eat for free over at the Denny's place? Is true. Yeah, kids eat free Monday through Thursday with every purchase of an adult entree. Your kid gets one free entree from the kids menu. Drinks not included. Other terms and conditions apply. I don't know what they all are, so make sure you stop by Denny's and they'll tell you. Programs also brought to you by Take Care with their proven wellness and fitness programs to encourage you and your family to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. They got preventative care, being active, eating right, relaxing and unwinding, and being socially connected. Gosh, it's just so much fun to hang out and Zumba with the girls, right? 8:15. Go check them out today at Take Care.
Real Talk Radio is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
What's that? Jennifer's having a hard time finding us on Facebook Live. Do me a favor. Just go to The Point or just search for The Point, and there'll be a picture of me on the icon. Click on that, and it'll bring you to the program and bring you to the Facebook page, and you should be able to click into the show from there. Now, what we'd like you to do is like and follow the page. So that way, whenever I go on live in the morning, whenever Bob Klitsky and Tall Tales goes on live, a note is sent out to everybody on Facebook that likes and follows us, and you'll get notified when we're on. And she says, okay, thank you, brother. I love your Peck shorts. And if you follow me on Facebook, I just shared what? I just shared it's a picture of last year's half marathon, where I was I'm standing with Anna and Arlene.
Feel free not to share.
Well, no, it's a memory. It's one of my favorite memories, so I shared it. So this weekend, I didn't wear the Peck shorts. I wore the Peck leggings. What?
I liked it with a heart. That's all.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I had to.
Oh my God. You and Lee, right? Okay, got you. 8:16 in the morning. Where am I supposed to go? I guess we can use that as a start to the conversation about trying to pretend to talk about sports. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the world of sports, up to and including the half marathon that took place over the weekend. Great crowd came out and braved. I want to say it rained. The early morning rains up in Jigo, but it didn't.
It's a teaser rain.
It never. But it was cold. It was like running in air conditioning because it's like 73, 74 degrees or something like that on Saturday morning. So it was a little bit easier to get everything started. The sun eventually did find its way up and did find a good number of runners, but it seems like everybody had a fantastic time and sharing in the memory of Marissa Peroy. That's who they dedicated the steps and all of the miles to, so that was real sweet. Next big race that's going to be coming, I want to see if there's something in the all right. I know that as far as races are concerned, we know that we've got one. The superheroes thing is going to be what on the 2nd or something like that. I'll get the dates for you, but also start getting you lined up for the Bank of Guam's race, the Banco Nifit race, and I got the numbers on that one. It's going to be March 14th from 4:30 in the morning or so. It's when they're going to start lining up the cones there about 4:30. Showtime is usually at 5 o'clock. Then we're going to have go time at 6 o'clock in the morning. 2K, 5K. It is an Aganya run, but more of a typical Aganya run. They used to run kind of around the village, but now I think it's just going to be an out and back. So either going north or going south. And if I had my way, I'd like to have the headwind in front of me in the beginning of the race, and then I've got a tailwind pushing me down for the rest of the course. Otherwise, if you got something in the world of sports that you want to talk about, 888-8255, or send me a WhatsApp at 988-5874. 988-5874. And you know what? Can I just complain? I mean, I don't think I need to ask permission. It's talk radio, right? I can complain anytime I want to. But I'm not getting enough WhatsApps. I'm not, I'm looking over the WhatsApps I've got, and frankly, they're from some of the usual guys. Right? I want to get new WhatsApps from you. I need some new WhatsApps, if you know what I mean. Now, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it. And try to line it up with something that I'm talking about. I'll give you an example. So today, one of the big stories I've been talking about is the guys at the HSC 25 Squadron that went out, and apparently there was something where they were going to hear the president speak, and they used that as an opportunity to drive home the point that they would like to make air crew great again. And they got a patch that says "Make Air Crew Great Again," and it's got the president's likeness on it. And so these guys have been busted. Like I said, I hope they're not busted down too hard because they perform an incredible service. Guam is so lucky that we've got the HC5 group out here. They're just a bunch of terrific guys. I know a bunch of them, and they're all real sweet guys. And they do some unpleasant things. They pluck people out of the boondocks and recover bodies in the ocean, help out with the fires that we get from time to time. And like I said, we're lucky that we got them. So I hope they're not busted down too much. Now, apparently there is a workaround, and I think it was Nick that sent this out here. This is the patch that won't get you in trouble. If you got this kind of patch, go ahead and put that on your air suit, and you will not get into. It's the politically correct, non-offensive squadron patch, and all it's got is it's just bars. It's just a barcode, right, for whatever squadron you happen to be in. So you put something like that on your clothing, and you probably won't get in trouble. But what's the point? There's no point in not making any kind of statement here. And the statement is, from at least these guys and their perspective, is that we got to make the air crew great again. Now, Montesilva talking about one of the other stories that you can find in today's Guam Daily Post. Guys in FSM have decided that they want to be proactive, and they banned plastic. Except plastic that
Some
is
plastic.
recyclable or already recycled, right?
Or reusable.
Or reusable. Well, isn't
Which
that
is
like
plastic.
everything?
Exactly.
Everything falls into that category.
Yeah.
Now, somebody posted somewhere, and I didn't make a copy of it, but it's kind of annoying. And I'm trying to be conscious about what I buy and what the containers are that it comes in. But it's impossible to avoid plastic. So, more needs to be done on the container side. Now, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I don't know if we want to go back to glass jars and metal containers for everything like we did back in the olden days. But it's annoying that, I go and I get a jug of milk and it comes in plastic. I go and put my vegetables in a bag that's made out of plastic. And all of these things, all the containers that everything comes in is plastic, but they won't give me a plastic bag to hold it in now. And I'm going, this is not working in my head. There's got to be another way to do something along those lines. And what's scary is this headline here: FSM bans plastic, sort of, is somebody over at the legislature. And when I say that, you probably already got a mental image in your head of who it is that I might be talking about is going to come up and say, oh, we got to do the same thing here on Guam. If the FSM has done it, my God, they're vanguards in the fight to preserve our environment. How can we, the bigger island out in the Marianas, how is it possible that they got something done before we did? So they're going to come up with their own useless legislation as well. It's just a matter of time. Somebody at the legislature is reading this going,
Well, we already have a plastic bag ban that's going to go in effect.
When?
I don't know. I don't know.
Again, it's like the minimum wage thing. Here we're going to come up with pointless legislation that people will have forgotten by the time it's time for us to run for office again. So I'm going, this kind of doesn't make any sense. I don't know when I was thinking about that the other day. When does the plastic ban go into effect, and what is going to happen with all the businesses on Guam that have got stockpiles of plastic bags? I got a guy, my friend Joe Talik, right? The food truck guy.
Yeah.
So whenever I get banh mi from, what it comes in? Plastic bag. You know what it says on the plastic bag?
Put your trash in here?
No, it says Hakubotan.
Oh.
It's a bag that says. Next time I get a banh mi, I'll save it. So you can see it, or I can reuse it or recycle it or whatever. But he got his hands on a bunch of these old bags that are perfect for sandwiches, and that's what it comes in. So yeah, reduce, reuse, recycle as much as you possibly can. 8:23 in the morning. 888-825-5888-TALK. There were a couple other things that I wanted to yak about from the table of contents, and I'm going to see if I can scrounge some of that up and actually put it on the screen. We were talking earlier about TikTok, and this is what every parent and every teacher in the schools is seeing. It's refreshing now on the Facebook, and this is going to take some time. Who's our provider here? Faster, Sadik. Wait! It went to us. No. I didn't want to. This is that's Suki. I don't want it to see that. I wanted to see there's a TikTok-y thing. There we go. This is what every parent, every student, every teacher is seeing.
Play it from the beginning because it's so funny.
Is it? There's audio?
Yeah.
Right? No, yes, exactly. See, you will every once in a while, and I want to. It's going to come out sounding wrong, but every once in a while, I'll walk in on my daughter, and are you talking to me? And she shoots me this look like, you're ruining my TikTok. I'm doing a TikTok, and I'm like, I didn't know. What are you? There's dance moves and there's talking.
There's a facial expression that it's like I don't know, I don't even want to do it, it's so ugly. The facial expression that goes with the dance, I think it's supposed to make, but a lot of times they're listening to their earbuds or pods or whatever they're called, and you don't hear the noise, you don't hear the music they're dancing to, so they just look like they've got these spasms.
Yeah, they're going, do we need to talk to you? Can you push a pin in there and make sure that you still have feelings from the nerves? 8:25 in the morning, and one of the things that I noticed on Friday is we were with the boys sunset hunting on Friday evening. We were looking north in Tumon. For a couple of reasons. Number one, because it was just Friday night was like an air show. All of the different planes that were flying out there. We had little fast movers and a couple of versions of AWACS. I saw the jet AWAC. I saw the prop plane AWAC. And it occurred to us how loud they were. The prop planes were noisy, which is odd considering how I thought how high they were traveling. But as we were watching them line up for 6 up at Anderson, one of the guys looks at the Tsubaki Tower and says they have already begun the marketing of the tower. Not going to be open until April. And I've got the image of it on screen now. But the Tsubaki Towers, and they're working fast on this. On Friday, just the word tower was lit up. Now, and I think that was the only word that was up there. But yesterday I was down in Tumon and got this shot where it now says actually just TH. And then Tsubaki Towers. So just in a couple of, and they're painting some floors. I'm trying to figure out the rhyme and reason behind it. But some floors have paint on them and some floors don't have paint on them. But things seem to be now at the point where we're going to move pretty quick. Now that the majority of the construction is done, the hard construction is done, now we're going to start filling in the gaps and putting carpet on the floor and tiling stuff and running electricity. I got a feeling that this is, in the next couple of weeks, going to be something interesting for everybody to watch as they add more to the Tsubaki Towers.
The target date is around April, right?
I believe so, is around April. Now, one of the things that we've got to work on here in the hospitality industry, I mean, Christine Boleto this morning talking about we got to help out the various industries here on Guam that are going to be impacted with the economic impacts of the coronavirus. That it is possible we're just tip of the iceberg now in terms of what the impact is going to be with the numbers that are coming out. No, by the way, I did get a note from somebody that says at least one person on the Cambodian landing now has been identified as a positive corona case. So apparently there was coronavirus out there.
On the ship.
Yeah, put him back. Bring him to Guam. Let him play basketball. And then we got the visitor industry that is very concerned about these basketball guys coming in. They lined up behind the Adelup when they turned away the container ship with the passengers. Yeah, good idea. Don't let these guys in because it's coronavirus maybe, and out of an abundance of caution. And now they're saying, out of an abundance of caution, we should also take a look at this basketball game that we've got coming up. And because some of these players may have been in contact with people that may have gone to China, it isn't worth the risk. And so they are asking to, in order to protect the brand, which is an interesting line of thinking to go down. In order to protect the brand, they're suggesting that we postpone this basketball match until after we've got a better handle on the coronavirus and we know it's going to be happening. But it's interesting to me because that's the tack that they're pursuing. Is that so far Guam is coronavirus free. Knock on wood, hope it stays like that. Hope we are an oasis of health when it comes to the coronavirus. But, and is that bringing people in? I mean, do you suppose as a brand that people will think about getting on an airplane and traveling someplace? Is that what would be the big draw for Guam that we're rabies free, right?
Yeah.
That we don't have the coronavirus, we're rabies free, and you can smoke marijuana here.
Maybe it's not so much an attraction or an attractive part of the brand, but it gives them peace of mind when they are here. Because I don't see them walking around with all of the face masks like you would see in other destinations.
Yeah, I'm not
They
saying
look like they're comfortable, they're relaxed, and they know that they can go to and from and not catch something deadly.
They seem to be and almost as comfortable as we are.
Yeah.
Because I'm up and down Tumon. I've been shopping centers and things like that, and I've been around people. But it never occurs to me that one of them could be breathing something on me that is going to make me sick, maybe kill me.
And the masks are for sale. I went into one of the ABCs over the weekend, and
really?
over by they have them for sale. They have the cotton brand one that's reusable, washable, and then they have they sell them by the singles. The surgical mask, and then they have another version that's kind of like.
Do they have the Guam ones?
I didn't see any.
Because local promos has got Guam ones, but really? I think they're sold out.
Okay,
I think they sold out of it. Who was it? They're
about $5 for a single.
Well, what were they selling for before coronavirus? That's the other question.
Same. I don't see them.
That's where else we have to go. 8:30 in the morning, and there is one other thing. We want to talk about protecting the brands, and I know they're working on this. There's a story from the team over at the EPA here, and they were apparently trying to round up the owner of what I believe is the parking garage for the old. Is it Royal Palms, the one that we knocked down?
Yeah.
Okay, so I passed by there yesterday. It was right around sunrise. I was running.
Housing facility for some homeless.
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be a housing facility. It's supposed
Been
to
for
be.
years.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be, but they're in there.
It looked worse than it was noticeable because at least before I want to say they were closer to the beach side, but apparently there's so many people now there you can see them from the roadside. And I'm going right there, smack dab in the middle of Tumon, right there in the heart of our hospitality district. Tens, dozens, homeless that are in that building.
Ago, I don't remember which reporter it was. It might have been Charlene or even Nick Delgado who went over there and did a face-to-face. And each of the floors have like their own little unit. And they're different people. They're segregated and they have their own spot. And this is kind of like their little makeshift apartment.
And that's not the only place.
That was years ago. That was at least 10 years ago.
And again, that's not the only place that I've noticed. There's a bunch of old abandoned houses right behind where not the Fiesta, what's the Conta Mall, right behind the Conta Mall. There's an abandoned apartment building, and then if you go deeper into the boondocks, a little tiny trail, you would hardly even know it was there. You go up into this trail, and there are at least two-story houses back there that must have been just gorgeous houses in the 60s and 70s. And now, when I passed by, it looked like a dozen people living in each of them. No running water. Didn't look like there was any kind of sewage, and certainly no electricity. But they seem to be just happy folks, not paying any rent, not bothering anybody, just kind of, and probably living better there than they are on their home islands, which is saying something. Anyway, 8:32 in the morning. That's something that you ask me. That we start talking about protecting the brand. That's something that will be an impediment to our brand. A conversation about how clean it is down in Tumon, and how it should be homeless person free. I'm not down on the homeless people. We just can't have them down there where they're in front of our already skittish travelers. 8:32 in the morning, and that's all the time we got for this segment. Montecillo
And thank you to Nick Delgado. He sent over
Did he?
that public law. It goes into effect on January 1st, 2021, the plastic bag ban. So businesses won't be allowed to give out plastic bags.
When is that?
January 1st, 2021. I'll send it to you.
Okay, so still several months
you,
away.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, 8:32 in the morning. Headlines with Mona coming up next.
Denny's is making lunchtime a little more special. Every Monday through Friday, they serve a variety of local favorite soups, such as chicken adobo on Mondays, oxtail soup on Tuesdays and Thursdays, chicken tinola on Wednesdays, and pork sinigang on Fridays, while supplies last. All orders are served with rice. Senior citizens get a special menu, which includes a free soup or salad. Make Denny's your new lunch spot, located in Tamuning and the Micronesia Mall.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
It's 8:33 and time for our last look at headlines from the Guam Daily Post with news. Here's Montecillo Tyron.
2 people received minor injuries in a house fire in Dededo this weekend. Firefighters were quick to extinguish the fire to the home along Chalambalako yesterday. Within several minutes, they evacuated the occupants as well. 2 minors were taken to GMH with minor injuries. A longtime building inspector and permanent administrator with the Department of Public Works has resigned. Joe Guevara resigned in December in the middle of an investigation into his potential conflict of interest. The investigation was coordinated with the Office of the Attorney General. It's been alleged that Guevara had signed off on permits for developers who were working on projects which were to be sold by his wife, Janine. And 14,000 visitors have canceled travel plans to Guam, and GVB wants to preserve our image as a destination. This weekend, GVB's board urged the postponement of a basketball tournament on the island that will include the Hong Kong national basketball team. GVB made the recommendation because of concerns over the new coronavirus and Guam's image as a visitor destination. And those are some of your headlines from the Guam Daily Post. For more on these stories, you can pick up a copy of the paper, log on to their website at postguam.com.
Uncle Robert causing trouble on Facebook. He says, today is President's Day. It is not a holiday here. It is a holiday in the other territories. We stand alone. But there's also 8 states that do not declare it a holiday. Some are predictable, like a few southern states. But Wisconsin, Delaware, and Rhode Island do not declare it a holiday. What do you think? And I think I'm okay with it not being a holiday. I mean, I would have liked to have stayed out later and partied more
he is a
yesterday.
president, and happy President's Day.
Happy
Uncle
President's
Robert.
Day to you, Uncle Robert. Yeah.
Once a president, always a president.
I agree with that, but I guess the question is that if we were to to take this President's Day holiday, I mean but we got other holidays that the other states and territories don't have. And we got the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
You're looking at me. I want to take every single holiday.
It's true, right? So we got that.
Any
we got,
and every.
There's Good Friday and stuff. So I don't know. We mess with
Mondays.
our holiday calendar at our own peril, Uncle Robert. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, do we take President's Day, but we lose something else?
No, I want all of them. Give
Take
me
them
all
all.
of them.
835. See, in the private sector, that costs actual money, as opposed to in the public sector where people, there's real dollars at work here. Just saying.
Well, they get paid holiday.
Well, I know
pay.
that's my point, but it's not the government is not paying them. The taxpayers are paying them. So it's the distinction in my head here. 8:36 in the morning, and that's all the time that we've got. That's iConnect time. Run to an iConnect and ask them about the location they've got at the Micronesia Mall. All kinds of great phones and iPhones and iPhones accessories. If you want to live a completely digital, my life, that's a good place to start over at iConnect at the Micronesia Mall.
If you own a Toyota, please listen to this. It could help you avoid injury, maybe save your life. The Takata airbags installed in certain Toyotas can explode and shoot out sharp metal fragments at people inside the vehicle. You don't need to be in a collision. They could explode any time. In the U.S., these airbags have caused 26 deaths. There's been a worldwide recall of Takata airbags, and most have had the faulty parts replaced. But here in Guam, there are still over 3,000 Toyotas on the road with potentially lethal airbags, and yours could be one of them. So please, take your Toyota to Atkins Grow, even if you didn't buy it from us, and get the inflator replaced. It costs you nothing, it takes just about an hour, and it could save a life, yours or someone you love. The AK song says we're here for life. That's never been more true.
At Atkins Grow, we're here.
What time is it? 8:37. Groovy. Swing by Wendy's. They got one right around the corner and try that. I was telling you the other day, I was having a craving for spaghetti. Yeah. And I got to tell you, you get one of these big bacon classics they've got over at Wendy's with the big patty and the melted cheese on top of it, and then you wash that down with some spaghetti. And I don't know if you've noticed it, but they prepare the spaghetti there al dente. Have you? I mean, it's exactly the right bite that you get on this, and the meat sauce on it, so good. So maybe have that for lunch. Like I said, you get the big bacon classic down there with the bacon and the lettuce and the tomatoes and onions and all of that, and then, like I said, wash it down with a hot old thing of Wendy's spaghetti, and you will be the happiest guy on planet Guam.
When's the last time you looked at your homeowner's insurance?
An easily overlooked part of covering our home is what's inside of it. Over time, we buy things we don't want to lose, but don't update our contents coverage. The smart thing to do is get the answers and level up our insurance to make sure we're totally protected.
That's the Insurance Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today by calling Guahan Insurance Services at 475-1162 or visit us at the Camacho Landmark Center in Tamuning.
8:38, and time for our last look at traffic. It has not been a bad day for traffic at all. I was looking at the traffic gizmo before, and it was just intersection traffic. And really, that's all we're seeing right now. A little bit of intersection traffic in the usual spots. I've got some in front of Cars Plus up and mighty. Maybe a little bit of traffic as you're making your way into Mungmungtotum Road from either side. I got 8, 10, and 16, just kind of there, and 10 and 15 are running a little bit busy. Not to see too much on Route 4. A little bit of traffic north and southbound Marine Corps Drive before you get to the Kipuha Park, or after you get to it, depending on which side of the road you happen to be on. And maybe a little bit of a line of traffic waiting to turn over by Autospot onto Route 8 and into the downtown Hagutnya area. Second string traffic. A lot of those people don't get to work until 9, so they're trying to beat the clock at that now. 20 minutes before you get there, you're going to be all right. 20 to 9, that's right now traffic here on The Point.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering Old Timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
I'm looking for something in particular on the legislature's website. I want to see where we are, the latest in the resolutions, in the interesting resolutions that we've got here. There it is. That's it. 300-35. More on that in a second as it loads up on the paperwork. Got to do a good morning shouts to Matt Geiger watching the program on Facebook Live. Nice to have you there. We got Kat Phillips. Kat, I got to tell you how much I liked it as I was running into Tumon with the half marathon the other day. And like I said, they dedicated the race to the memory of great runner and good friend Marissa Peroy, and all of her old teachers from Tamuning Elementary were hugging the side of the road in kind of their cheer squad, and that makes a difference. I'll tell you right now, you run by one of those groups that are applauding you and high-fiving and all of that stuff. The adrenaline rush that you get from that is significant, even better than the rush you get from sucking on one of those goo packs that runners and athletes take. Shirag Bajwani from over at the speaker's office playing around online this morning. I see Ismael as usual. Who else has got the WhatsApp going? James Howard. What's that? Profitability rules are. Yes, James Howard, you lived in the private sector before. You know how it goes. We got to make a couple of bucks. Otherwise, we can't keep all the employees online. Nothing happens until something gets sold. That's the way it works in the private sector, and you cannot tax something that is not sold. So the government has got to look out in both directions for all of that. Lady D's online. I see Vince Duenas, Patrick Maloney. Small increases in the minimum wage is good. People at the lower end of the pay scale don't save, they spend, and spending is good for the economy. After the last minimum wage increase on Guam, the GDP, what happened? Patrick, you dropped off. What happened to the GDP? What happened to the gross domestic product? Johnny Rosario's online. I see Denise Legaspi. What are they saying? When are they going to start the dog roundup? Where can a person register their dogs? Lady D, it works like this. I don't think the dog roundup's going to be happening for about 6 months. I think that was the line that we got from Chelsea. First thing they got to do is make sure everybody knows there's going to be a dog roundup. And then after that, the next thing is to make sure that if you've got a dog that may be a little bit of an escape artist, get outside the fence every once in a while. If you want to make sure that dog doesn't get rounded up and ground into hamburger patties. No, that's not actually what they do with the dogs they round up. But if you want to make sure that doesn't happen to your dog, then you got to go and get it registered. Maybe a good idea to get the one of those little chips embedded on the inside of them. That way, if something does come up, the dog gets sick, gets hit by a car, the veterinarians will probe around for the chip and see if there's any way that we can reunite the dog and the bill payer. So yeah, all of that stuff's going to happen. And the answer is I don't know. I can find out. I'm getting a couple of questions. I'm not sure why, but we can find out from the usual sources what steps you got to take to get the dog, what you need to bring when you register the dog. Now, I've only ever in my life registered one dog, and that would have been dog Mocha. A few years ago, we took the dog to, I don't know, one of the veterinary places, and the lady behind the counter, nice girl, says, we're going to register the dog today. And I said, okay, what does that mean? She says, another $15 or something like that. So they got the dog, and they gave it a number, and I filled out a form, and then, bam, the dog's registered. And there was a thing on her collar. Right?
Concealed or non-concealed?
Is that concealed? You always take the extra and get concealed where you can. But I'm going, okay, well, fine. I guess I'm legal now. But I don't know that if I was supposed to ever re-register the dog, or when the dog died, should I have unregistered the dog? I don't, inquiring minds. But I'll find out. I'll find out for you, because there's a lot of people out here that like their dogs, love their dogs, don't want to see anything bad happen to them. And because the other part is we also want to see if this is a life changer, don't we? We have had for as many years as we've been messing around here, plan, and the only people, it seems to me, the only people that bother with that are law-abiding people. I think most everybody else just breeding dogs because they don't have any other way to look at it. I got a boy dog and a girl dog, and then all of a sudden there was puppies. How'd that happen? What the? Well, I can't register all of these puppies. I'm not going to. And then you got boy puppies and girl puppies, and pretty soon there's more puppies. So it will be interesting to see if this plan that they've got to round up as many of these dogs as possible, spay and neuter as many of these dogs as possible, and then release them back out into the community if we don't euthanize them, the real sick ones. It will be interesting to see if that makes some kind of a dent in the stray dog population here on Guam. How do you feel about it? Are you going... Yeah, they said they were going to fix the hospital, too. All right. We'll see. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things where you try to be generous with the benefit of the doubt and go, well, you know, there's a new person running things down there. Chelsea's smarter and, got the sense that God gave horses. So maybe they're going to finally be able to get something going. You kind of hold out hope, don't you? Remember, we were talking about hope this morning, and I was showing off a picture that I got from that I took this morning of a guy's car. Where's that picture? Hold on. A guy's car, and on the car was a little poster that said, "Your car is impeding traffic, and if you don't move it in 48 hours, it will be towed away at your expense." So there. Is that really going to happen? And the answer is, I don't know. That's my mayor, Rudy Paco. He's the guy that put that thing on the car. And if we go any longer than a couple of days, Mayor, everybody knows that you leveled the threat of some kind of accountability at the owner of the automobile in form of a sign. I think the assumption is that the sign goes along with the person who lives next to the abandoned car. But what if that's not true? Then what are we going to do? Got to make sure that the car gets towed and figure out a mechanism so that the bill on that one gets paid. 888-255-888-TALK. I was messing around with people's names and numbers in their comments. Charlie Hermosa's there. Ken LG, the other Governor Leon Guerrero's online. Michelle Pierre's online as well. Kenneth Gumatao San Augustine. Good morning to you. And I see Joey Toves, Galu Perez, James Espaldon. Hafa Senador. Nice to have you there. You want to join the Republican Party? Why not? Jennifer Badar from over at GRTA is on. The very beautiful Elaine McGee is hanging out on Facebook Live this morning, watching the fun technology. Valerie Lynn Maige from the Navy is on. Krista, you know what, Valerie? I went hiking one day, and it was so cool because my hiking group ran into another hiking group. And we're like, well, we're this hiking club. Who are you? And they said, we're with the MWR. As in military welfare and recreation. And I thought that was about the coolest thing. It was a great program to get people that would normally not even know that there was boondocks and jungle that you could hike around and waterfalls that you could splash in like mermaids, huh? But they were out cruising around with a couple of guides from the MWR and having the time of their life. And I did notice for my friends over at Southern Mountain Gear that many of them were wearing clothes and accessories that you can only get on Guam at Southern Mountain Gear. So there you go. Chris Kaiser Gaza online this morning. Chris, outstanding work at the Academy's Songfest. Friday night. Was that Friday? Saturday night. Saturday afternoon. Sorry, let me just nail down the times. Saturday afternoon over at the University of Guam Fieldhouse. It has got to be, I don't know, the 60th running of the Songfest for the Academy of Our Lady of Guam. And there was food. I didn't think there was going to be food. But you know what surprised me? No beer.
Wow.
They didn't have an event at the University of Guam Fieldhouse, and for which there was no, that I know of, there was no beer. I know a couple of the guys, and I'm like, dudes, what? I said, where's the cooler? For water? I said, you. Where's the cooler for the beer? Find me the old men, because I know there's a cooler here. Where's Vic? Vic will know where the cooler is. So I'm pretty sure there was a cooler there, but it's not like they, because they had these chicken platters or whatever. It's not like they were giving away. It's like, you can have water, you can have beer. But next year, because now I have a daughter that goes to the academy, next year, can we have a song fest that's two things. Number one, shorter, and number two, You'd think it was graduation the way they were doing that. Oh, my God. So number one, shorter, number two, cooler for the old men. Just saying. So thanks very much, Chris, to handle that for me. Jennifer, Leon Guerrero Mendiola is there. Herman and Renee Antolan, good morning to you. Ruben Mortera, and there's a couple of other things. Douglas Riselis, who says, Tumon, it is what it is. And he's also asking the question, brand? What's the brand? We have a brand for Tumon? Is that what they're trying to protect by saying no? Put the Ixnay on the basketball game, eh? Xavier Athalig's there. Joey Charfus is online, and so is David Evans. Now, Dave knows what the brand is supposed to be. He actually lives it. You can find Dave most nights of the week over at Santa Fe on the bay, singing and playing the guitar and doing all of that stuff with the doc. And that's a very, very cool thing. And so what is the brand there? Not of Santa Fe, but I mean, how does the brand translate to that part of the hospitality industry that is not in Tumon? Interesting question, but the question nonetheless is, as we are talking about preserving the brand and ensuring that that we've got, all of us are facing forward with all of our guests that come from a variety of locations. What is the brand that we're trying to sell them, and how do we do that with a number of homeless that find themselves in this parking garage, this structure down in Tumon? There's a story, this one here from Sabrina Salas. The Guam Environmental Protection Agency is trying to find the owner of two separate pieces of property in Tumon and have him clean up its act. He's been nowhere to be found since September of last year. The agency has had its eye on a particular eyesore in Tumon since last July. It's a parking garage that has become an illegal dump site, spilling out with garbage. And as we've said, we've also got a number of homeless people that have decided that they're taking up a place to go and hang out there. That's where they live now. And now this is where I have a little bit of a hard heart. If we can't find this guy, and according to the story, it's not the first time that he's run out from his obligations. If that's the case, then guess what? I'm the government of Guam, and we've issued your notice of violations. Place continues to be an eyesore, continues to be a problem. I'm taking it over. I will take that place and make that my own. And then we'll take that and sell it and give the money to Ray Topaznia so Ray can go and put some housing together for these guys. Ray's on the line. We'll talk with him in just a little bit. I do want to bring Dave Del Sola into the conversation as well. Did get a note from your office. Director Cho sent in some paperwork here. I guess we got a couple of these clinics coming up for island businesses and employers. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Ray. How are you doing today? Did you have a nice weekend?
I had a terrific weekend. I mean, it was except getting sandblasted down in Tumon because the winds are up, so it picks up that real fine sand and blows it into every crack, every crevice. My beer was crunchy. I'll just say that. So that was fun. So we got a couple of things. The American Job Center's got labor clinics coming up, OSHA reporting, and OSHA consultation and industrial health.
Yes. In line with, that we were successful in getting out of the high-risk status from our grants with OSHA. It took me 8 months when I came in, and part of the conditions were to go do more outreach, training, and visits. And this is all in line. So we've, more than tripled our outreaches. So all those outreaches that you see every month at the AJC, those are part of us staying in compliance and making sure that we get the words out. And I hired an additional guy. We are investing in them to get all certifications and training. And we between my fair employment and my OSHA, we constantly every month schedule workshops. The last Fair Chances in FIPO was standing room only, so I was real happy with that. Some of that was because they had the choice, because we are going out and partnering together. Sometimes I'm kind of taking a curveball here, but we are going out doing enforcement, and we're doing it in groups with Wage and Hour, OSHA, and FIPO whenever we can. And that way, even with Rev and Tax, with Daphne, we've joined forces, because when there's a wage violation, there's often a tax violation.
It goes along hand in hand.
So it goes hand in hand. So we're trying to help each other whenever we find violations and when we're going out. And as far as my end, Since this fair chances is still kind of a new concept, and we're doing a lot of outreach, I give them the choice of either taking a dollar violation, or come to a training and getting it wiped out. And that way,
yeah, I'd be standing room only. I'd be standing room only on that one as well. It's like, well, yeah, I can expel you, or we can do this.
That was something when I grew up. When I used to, in the States, when I got pulled over and got a speeding ticket, either you take the speeding ticket and pay the fine and get the points, or you go to a class. So I was often on the weekends attending
a class or something like that. Just couldn't slow down. So now there's two of these things that are coming up. The first one is going to be tomorrow. Jess Pangolina is going to be doing the on-site consultation management to talk about the reporting that you've got to do, the OSHA Form 300. I don't have to fill that out, do I?
There's mechanisms in place. I don't want to give advice about an OSHA person, so I can certainly find that answer out for you and let you know right away.
Yeah, okay, because otherwise I'm just going to go along happy and in my blissful ignorance. Blissful ignorance. And then on the 20th now, there's another one that's going to be taking place. This one here might be a little bit more lined up for certain industries and managers here on Guam. On-site consultation with industrial health hazard identification services, including monitoring and sampling for chemical, gas, dust, and noise.
Yes, some of them. I think one of my guys went to a training in the States, and they got like some certifications for it. So we're just trying to pass on these. Remember, our OSHA is all about compliance. We don't do the OSHA enforcement. So we're all about trying to make sure that all the employers out there are armed with information and education and training, so that when enforcement comes, they are one step ahead.
Right.
And when you're under consultation, you can't get. If you call us and you go under our consultation plan, then you can't get any fines or anything until you are completed.
Because you are actually in process of trying to come into compliance. So that's the important thing. This is free insurance, guys. And if you want more information, call the AJC. And what's the contact number there?
You can just call 475-7073 or 43. I'm sorry, 7043, and you'll be glad to direct you to whatever question that you have.
Gotcha.
We'll direct you to the right division.
Dude, I'm going to run.
Anything else?
No. Well, I just one thought here. What do you suppose the impact is going to be if the governor, working with the legislature, abides by the request from the Chamber of Commerce to freeze the wages where they are and not implement a minimum wage increase on March 1?
Well, I think that's something that she just got back this weekend, so I'm sure she's going to take an advisement. She will probably have to do something with the legislature because it is law.
Right.
And you can't just say we're not going to ignore the law. You're going to have to either do something, you're going to have to get some lawyers involved to make sure that they do whatever they do it right.
Gotcha.
So, and I'm sure that they will discuss that. And now that she's back and decide that, I just enforce it.
Right. All right. Well, listen, I got to let you run. I get just a couple of minutes to spend with Ray Topozna from over at Gura. Frankly, that's not enough time to get into bits and pieces of a study that came out that said we're going to need 10,000 more homes on Guam to be able to in just the next couple of years to be able to meet the needs of our homeless and our not adequately housed community. So can we table this maybe until either later in the 9 o'clock hour or tomorrow? Ray?
I'm sorry. Right?
No, I was.
So you want me to call back?
Well, yeah, maybe later in the hour. I'll have Joe line up depending on what the next segment of the program looks like. But I do want to talk about it, and then talk about the idea that I just had about that parking garage down in Tumon that is an eyesore and is becoming a destination for homeless right there in the middle of the tourist district. And I kind of like the idea that I came up with is we'll eminent domain that, sell it, and then give you the money so that you can build housing for homeless someplace besides the crown jewel of our tourism crown.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Congress actually gives Gura eminent domain authority. We don't have to go to the legislature. We have that kind of power, but it's not something that we want to exercise very handily.
Well, they can't find the guy that owns the property, and he's ignoring the notices of violation, et cetera, from the guys over at the EPA. Maybe it's something where you could use that to eminent domain the property, and imagine what that could be going for on the open market in terms of the value of that property. Anyway, so I'll have my producer ring you up in a little bit, all right?
Okay.
All right. There's Ray Topazny. He works over at an outfit called Gura. Maybe you've heard of them. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, or it will be in seconds. On the way, I've got Fox News Live, and they'll tell you all the big stories that are breaking this weekend back in the States. Mona Silva's all done with her news responsibilities, but if something comes up, I'll see if I can share it with you on the program. 93.3, the radio station known in Washington, D.C., in the halls of the Federal Communications Commission by our call sign, KUSG Hagutnya. This is The Point.
Hail to the driver-in-chief. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. President Trump cruising to victory lane at the Daytona 500.
Tens of thousands of patriots here today have come for the fast cars and the world-class motorsports. But NASCAR fans never forget that no matter who wins the race, what matters most is God, family, and country.
The president serving as Grand Marshal for the Great American Race. He also took a lap around the track in the presidential limo. Some Democrats hoping to beat him to the finish line in November are in Nevada to campaign before the state's caucuses next weekend.
There are 4 days of early voting in Nevada. Yesterday marked day one. As of 5 p.m. local time yesterday evening, 11,800 Nevada Democrats voted early, according to the Democratic Party here in this state. Now, we don't know who they voted for, only how many voted, but Senator Bernie Sanders is leading the pack in recent state polls. He held a rally yesterday to encourage supporters to get out and vote early. He then walked with them to a nearby polling location.
Fox's Ellison Barber in Henderson. The U.S. evacuating hundreds of Americans from a cruise ship quarantined in Japan because of the coronavirus. They'll take charter flights to military bases in California and Texas to be quarantined for 2 more weeks.
China reported 142 deaths and 2,009 new cases of coronavirus in the previous 24 hours Sunday. The rate of reported new cases has slowed in the past 3 days, even though the death toll continues to rise. In all, more than 68,500 people have been infected, and 1,669 people have died worldwide, and the majority of these cases being in mainland China.
Fox's Christina Coleman. Health officials confirming 15 cases in the U.S. America is listening to Fox News.
Half a day. This is Alicia Blas from Security Title with a gentle reminder that your first installment of property taxes is due February 20. You might not know, but if you purchase property after March 4, 2019, you most likely will not receive a tax bill in the mail, but you still owe the tax. To make payment, take a copy of your deed to Revenue Tax in Barragata and ask for the tax bill. When it comes to your family land, call the professionals at Security Title. We are here to help.
When an apology isn't really an apology, and the effect that can have on the workplace. I'm Jerry Roberts, and at 7:20 a.m. on The Ray Gibson Show, we'll learn a valuable lesson from a company that apparently has learned nothing from a very public lesson they should have learned from.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point at GuamTraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts, brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank on 93.3 The Point.
Attorney General William Barr under pressure to step down after overruling the recommended sentence for Trump confidant Roger Stone. More than 1,100 Justice Department officials in an open letter calling for Barr's resignation.
So far, we have heard from a number of former justice officials that they have been signing on to this petition from a group called Protect Democracy, saying they want Bill Barr to step down. Now, Fox News has not been able to verify that this petition really does contain a list of everyone that is claimed to have worked at the Justice Department, but this is starting to get a lot of news and will certainly come into this new week. As for the Attorney General, we have not seen a response to this petition, and he is going to be having a chance to speak with lawmakers directly. He's going to be heading up to Capitol Hill for a hearing, but that's not scheduled to happen now for several more weeks, not until the end of March.
Fox's Mark Meredith. Residents in and around Mississippi's capital bracing for more floods.
Torrential rains have swollen several lakes and rivers in Mississippi the past several days, to the point that the governor is warning they now face a precarious situation that can turn at any moment.
This is a historic event. It's
unprecedented in the last 35 years.
Tate Reeves speaking to reporters this Sunday. Police have been going house to house in the Jackson vicinity of the Pearl River, telling folks to evacuate. Advice the governor stresses they should heed.
We do not want to lose anyone as we respond to what is expected to continue to be historic flood level.
Once the river crests, it'll take 3 or 4 days for floodwaters to recede significantly. Karen McHugh, Fox News.
We've all been there, but this air traveler won't stand for what she sat through in a video gone viral.
On January 31st, the woman taking this video, Wendy Williams, claims the man behind her started hitting the back of her seat when she wouldn't put it up. She says a flight attendant told her to delete the video and gave her a notice to cease her behavior. Now, she wants the name of the man sitting behind her to press assault charges.
Fox's Alex Hogan. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
If you own a Toyota, please listen to this. It could help you avoid injury, maybe save your life. The Takata airbags installed in certain Toyotas can explode and shoot out sharp metal fragments at people inside the vehicle. You don't need to be in a collision. They could explode any time. In the U.S., these airbags have caused 26 deaths. There's been a worldwide recall of Takata airbags, and most have had the faulty parts replaced. But here in Guam, there are still over 3,000 Toyotas on the road with potentially lethal airbags, and yours could be one of them. So please, take your Toyota to Atkins Crow, even if you didn't buy it from us, and get the inflator replaced. It costs you nothing, it takes just about an hour, and it could save a life, yours or someone you love. The AK song says we're here for life. That's never been more true.
At Atkins Crow, we're here for life.
It's 6 after 9 o'clock in the morning. Ray Gibson Show being brought to you by guys over at Denny's. And a reminder that every day they've got a different soup. And today it's Monday, so the soup is going to be chicken adobo, bro. Tomorrow, oxtail soup. And for oxtail soup, you need to get there a little bit early, like 10 or something like that. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the good stuff because it's only while supplies last over at Denny's. Program's also brought to you by APL. That's American President Lines. Global presence with a local home.
Getting you back to the talk faster. It's the Ray Gibson Show.
Greg Massey online. I see Jess Berlin Manassas has joined the online community as well. And boy, there's some salty people on the Facebook Live here this morning. And if you don't have anything to complain about, jump on the Facebook Live and see what folks are ragging on the government, the private sector on, because it's interesting. Gary Shawnall's hanging out in the Facebook Live as well. Interesting question about what is required for dog registration. And like I said, we'll get that answered here before too much longer. But the dog roundup that they were talking about over at the Department of Agriculture. But Manflorita is asking an interesting question. What about a pig roundup? They're more dangerous than dogs and becoming more prevalent. There was a friend of mine on Facebook that was complaining she couldn't leave her house because there was a big feral pig that was outside the front door of the house, and she couldn't get out that way, and was having a hard time on the side door. And you know, it's not like, I don't think the pig was actually going to attack her. She thought the pig was actually going to attack her, so she gets stuck in the house. And that would not have necessarily been a problem over at my house. It would have been a question of just making sure I had the right caliber weapon in my hand at the time. I'm sure I would have been able to make it out of the facility. We'll see what we can find out about another one. Manflorita, there is usually a big event that they hold over at the Department of Agriculture where they basically, it's a hunting deal, and you go out there and you hunt pig, and all of these animals that have got clove hooves and that kind of thing, because they're just terrible out in the outside world. Anyway, tell you about that when it comes up. 8 after 9 o'clock in the morning, 888-825-5888-TALK, or WhatsApp me at 988-5874, 988-5874. Send me any cool memes or pictures and stuff like that that you've got. I got a couple of guests in the studio because it's Monday, and it's always fun to find out what's going on in different parts of the community. So in the studio with me, representing, and I'm going to say it this way, SAME. That's the name of the organization, the SAME, and that is short for what? What is it exactly that the SAME does? I've got Scott Thompson in the studio and Noel Enriquez, and we're going to talk about the impact that the SAME has had on Guam in about the last 50 or so years that they've been a part of the community. Welcome to the program.
All right, thank you.
Hope you like the facilities. Neither one of you guys have been in here yet. And normally, Noel and I were talking about getting together at Crust every once in a while. But that was when just anybody could go to Crust. Apparently now you have to be on the bar because a lot of lawyers, lots of judges in there. And it wouldn't normally be bad, except I'm a guy in talk radio, right? So most of the conversation that I hear, I cannot repeat, especially if it's coming from somebody over in the courthouse. And you want to talk about your major annoyances, right? But they make it up for me by buying me a lot of booze. So 10 after 9 o'clock in the morning. Happy anniversary to SAME.
Yeah, thank you. So SAME is the Society of American Military Engineers, and we are celebrating 100 years nationally. And like you said, we've been here about 68 years on Guam. So SAME is a nonprofit professional organization that is committed to developing leaders and leading collaboration between industry and government to solve multidiscipline infrastructure challenges.
How do we fix the hospital? I'm sorry. I know it's not a military thing, but I mean, because I read the paperwork from the Army Corps of Engineer, and yeah, it's going to take a multidisciplined approach to be able to go through Guam Memorial Hospital and identify a lot of the problems. And frankly, it's stuff that really you do need somebody with a PE at the end of their name and certification in a bunch of different disciplines to be able to go through it. All the electrical stuff, the plumbing, the construction, spalling in areas that are practically uninhabitable as a result of the lack of maintenance and negligence on the property all these years. Is that a project you guys want to take?
Well, no. So SME doesn't actually perform work. We are an organization of professional engineers and contractors that help support that industry. And so
you can find me a guy.
There would be members within our organization that would probably be involved with that, but SAME is not somebody. They would not somebody who would be doing the work.
This is the group that I go to when I want to retile my kitchen. Then
no,
nothing like that. Well, so military contracting. We're talking about several $100 million worth of construction that's going to be coming this way as part of the new NDAA budget, right?
Yes, it is.
But contracts that have already been signed, right?
Yes, but even though the military is an SAME, really the organization consists of all areas of engineering. You got civilian, public, private entities, organizations that do get involved. And so when people see SAME, which is, again, Society of American Military Engineers, they think initially military. But
I know I did. I mean, my first introduction with the SAME was working with Mark Calvo a couple of years ago before he became chief of staff.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he retired and he became a civilian, and he joined a civilian engineering company.
Right.
And so, again, going back to our organization today, we have a lot more civilian engineers that are involved in basically a lot of different activities throughout not only the world, but here, especially on Guam. We support the students. For example, in the summer, we hold STEM camps.
Right.
One-day STEM camp. In fact, we've been holding it for the past 4 years. And the first year, we had about 60-plus students. And then the past 3 years, we've had over 200 Guam students.
Nice.
This is coming from across the school district, both public and private.
So, I mean, it goes a long ways towards the idea that if you build it, they will come. I think there's a pent-up desire for a lot of people to be looking at practical education and practical careers once they get out of high school and into college. And there's a whole lot of money to be made, for some people if they get the right kind of certifications and great opportunities that exist right here on Guam. You don't have to leave town to be able to find yourself some good opportunities in the construction education game.
Well, that's the thing now. As you probably heard, the University of Guam has started a 4-year engineering degree program, and SAME has been part of that. At the early stages, we were members of the advisory council trying to develop plans on how to put together the program. And now we're part of the committee of several members of the SAME Guam Post, our committee members, trying to ensure that this program is successful. So
when do you think you might graduate our first students?
Actually, in less than 2 years.
Huh.
One of the things that, one of the challenges, though, is every university that does graduate engineers, they have to be ALBED accredited. It's an engineering organization that certifies a university. But fortunately, we've been able to get a waiver with the local appeals board, which is the Professional Engineering, Architect, and Land Surveying License Board, so that the first set of engineers graduating from the University of Guam can get their engineering in training certification, so they can eventually get their professional engineer's license.
How do they go from that? How do they go from basically their learner's permit to their terminal degree?
Well, the basic thing again is graduating, but graduating with an engineering degree, and then through that process, you actually take that engineering and training exam. Once you pass it, then you have at least 5 years of basically like an intern type training.
OJT.
Yeah, and so you got to go through that whole process and work under a licensed engineer, and eventually take your exam. And if you pass, you become a licensed engineer. But the other thing that we've done also is started a University of Guam student chapter. There's at least the last I heard is about 170 engineering students at the university right now. And those students are part of the student chapter. And so what we've also done is help these students with different programs that they have at the university, but also they help the Guam Post with different events, whether it's the industry forum that we held recently or the past couple of years, or even out in the community where they help us. Like this week is actually Engineers Week. And so
congratulations. All right. So you have quite a lot to celebrate here. I'm in love with the idea that within a couple of years we're going to start actually graduating engineering degreed students from the University of Guam. I remember the initial conversations that then President Robert Underwood was having about wanting to build something at the university besides the standard business, besides some of the liberal arts stuff that is so common and prevalent at the University of Guam, by going into something that is practical like engineering. Part of the idea is so that we get these kids that have got that bright spot, can do the mathematics, understand the physics behind everything, and rather than have them go off island for the degree, maybe never to return, we've got a better shot at keeping at least, 160, 170 students here on Guam, where moms and dads will be more happy because they get to see each other.
Yeah, financially a lot easier.
And financially a whole lot easier on a bunch of families. You don't have to fly everybody back and forth 4 or 5 times. What's your background? What's your engineering background?
I'm actually a all-around engineer. I actually graduated from the Naval Academy, but with an engineering degree. Unfortunately, because once I graduated, I had to stay in the. I was in the military, so most of my
pay that back.
So most of my years initially was on active duty, and so I thought about it, and I decided not to pursue my licensed engineering. And guess what? I should have thought about that way back then.
Every once in a while, I'll be sitting when I'm in that moment, going, if I'd have just joined the military, I'd be retired by now. I'd be pulling in, at least one or two big annuities.
That's what I'm doing right now.
As a result, we got to work until we die. What about you, Scott? What's your background?
I'm a civil engineer. I graduated from University of Alaska Fairbanks and work for an engineering company here on Guam, and we do.
Okay, so I'm going to say like I know what a civil engineer does, but enlighten me so the next time we have a conversation, I don't.
So actually, the UOG program that they're standing up right now is a civil engineering program, and so civil engineering consists of about 5 different disciplines. You have transportation engineering, environmental engineering, structural engineering, wastewater engineering, and environmental engineering.
Where's the money?
Am I missing one? Geotechnical.
Yeah.
Where's the dough? Who's of all of those different? I'm 19 years old. I'm looking for a career. Where do you want to steer me?
That's where I started. I was 19 years old. Going, where's the money? And I looked at civil engineering. I think engineering in general, you're going to find is good money across the board. There's multidiscipline engineers out there. There's several different disciplines. So you have civil, mechanical, electrical, structural. You have fire protection engineers. You have construction management engineers. So there's a lot of different variations, and I think they're all, fairly well paid.
Are there a lot of places where the responsibilities of the technology intersects?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, multidiscipline engineering is like for a building, you got to know a little bit about every single discipline. One of the things I remember learning in school was if you don't know the answer to if you're a civil engineer and you're doing something and you don't know the answer to a mechanical problem, well, ask a mechanical engineer.
Right.
Don't do it yourself. But you still got to have some knowledge about it. So you get a good sense of all the different engineering. But,
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of none. That's what I am right now, is basically. So I'm actually a civil engineer, but I manage other engineering disciplines as well.
So are there so I don't know how old you are, but I mean I'm assuming that an organization like SAME is going to have programs that talk to somebody like you and say, okay, Jack of all trades, master of none, but where would you like to go? Are there opportunities with SAME to drive you into advanced certification or other certifications in an allied field?
Yeah, so SME provides a lot of training, technical training, and networking opportunities and symposiums and conferences that you can attend to help you, figure out what it is that maybe if you're still trying to figure out what you want to do, those will help you. So we actually provide technical training for a lot of concrete testing. We did a PMI course earlier this year, Project Management Institute course. So if you want to do project management, which is kind of the master or jack
there seems to be a whole lot of that. I know GCC was encouraging a whole lot of these project management courses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
not that long ago.
There's a lot of opportunity that SME provides that for people that are interested in learning more about different disciplines.
So are all of the engineers on Guam in SAME? I mean, it sounds like it. It sounds in my mind. I'm thinking this is like the Rotary Club for the smart guys.
Well, we are hoping they are, but unfortunately, as like any organization,
my Rotary buddies are saying, "What are you trying to suggest there, Ray?"
Yeah, well, you probably have some engineers there too.
One or two, yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have all the engineers on. Here's the thing: is SAME, the Guam Post, has been around for 68 years, and so there. At one time, all the engineers have been been a member of the Guam Post.
Yeah.
So I think to answer your question, I think every engineer has been a member. However, during certain periods of their careers, whether they've been very busy that they can't participate, or they decided to do other activities, then they've decided to move on. But I think we have over 300, 300 some engineers.
Members. Yeah, well, and
members.
Not just engineers, but we also, cater to the contractors, architects, land surveyors. So what we call Engineers Week, we call here on Guam EALS Week, which is Engineers, Architects, Land Surveyors Week. Actually, we're having a proclamation signing tomorrow at the governor's office that we'll be doing for EALS Week. We do that annually, so. Our membership is very diverse. It's not just engineers; it's multidiscipline. It's contractors, it's a lot of suppliers.
Well, I've accidentally gone into a couple of meetings of SAME because having them at the Outrigger for a while.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew where I was going, and I walked into a room and it was crowded with a bunch of people that I knew from business, and I thought, well, this must be the meeting. And I sat in there for a couple of minutes and I didn't recognize the program. I said, this is something completely different. But it rang familiar because everybody knows everybody here on Guam. So it must be one of those kind of games where if you don't know the answer to a question as a civil engineer, you know where in the SAME directory to go and find the guy that knows.
Yeah, so what I said earlier is SAME collaborates with government and industry, and we also collaborate with the private and the public sector as well. And so we, across all disciplines, so we have brother and sister organizations on Guam that we coordinate and collaborate with all the time. So we have AIA, which is the architects. We have GSPE, Guam Society of Professional Engineers. We have NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction.
Now that's the party, by the way. Whenever, no.
I've heard that.
Yes, whenever they have their party, that's the must attend, by the way. I don't know about your ribbon cutting and your proclamation signing tomorrow, but as far as the parties are concerned, you want to go when the NAWIC have their deals. Just looking online, a couple of names that you might recognize: Annette Ada Vasquez, Bob Lizama, Thelma Hechanova. I got Greg Massey online, and Greg comes into the conversation every once in a while. nothing gets done. You guys can have the most brilliant ideas in the world, but unless we've got guys that are coming in that can actually execute the construction and the engineering that you've drawn up, kind of makes for a short job. So there's Greg Massey there, Jess Berlin, Manassas, and Mike Limtialco, former Senator Mike Limtialco, online this morning, listening to the conversation. How do just regular lay folks like this get involved with the SAME? You guys, got any programs where just regular people can come in on kind of an allied basis and hang out?
Well, actually, we've invited Greg Massey to several of our meetings, and he understands and knows what we do.
Right.
I know Mike Limtialco is also, I think he should be a member, but because he is a supplier of
oh my God, yeah.
Yes.
They get that whole showroom right there at the intersection of 8 and 16.
Yeah, so he's going to be very much a part of all this activity that's going to happen in the next several years. So I think they know SAME. I think it's just a matter of being members and also participating in the meetings that we have every month, every Thursday.
Every third Thursday.
Yeah, third Thursday.
How are you guys going to be celebrating 100 years for SAME and an anniversary here on Guam? You got a big get-together coming up?
Yes, we do. It's this coming Thursday, February 20th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We've invited several dignitaries, including the governor, and then our national executive director will be coming here. And we normally have, every year, as we said earlier, we have Engineers Week. And so what we do is actually have a presentation of all the major military construction that's happening, because as you know, right now, the major construction is military.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of ways to...
Look at the pretty Tsubaki Tower going up. I mean, I was just taking some pictures of it. They got the name is almost complete on the Tumon side of the facade, and they got the word tower was lit up the other night. So I know we're getting pretty close to that. And technically, that is a military project. It was given it was lifted out from under the H2 deal, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. And what the other thing too is that a lot of the members, military members, will probably be staying there during their vacation or coming through Guam. So again,
TDY,
TDY, and so I think that's, when you look at the military, it's not only the actual military equipment and all the projects that are going right now. It's affecting, as you know, across the community, whether they're helping out with the cleanups, or whether they're improving the roads. And most people don't realize the roads are being funded by the military through the federal highways and then down to the Department of Public Works. So the money's coming.
That's because they didn't give me the billion-dollar boulevard that I wanted that would go from Anderson all the way straight down through the middle of the island. Can you imagine how that would have changed our lives?
Just like H1 in Hawaii, Oahu.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. And what a great project that would have been to design. Now I'm trying to figure out why we're not doing the same thing. There's, I know they put this out to bid, and excuse the random nature of the program. It's just stuff that pops into my head that maybe you guys might know the answer to. Is why there's supposed to be widening, reconstruction, and rehabilitation of Talent San Antonio from where the Archbishop Circle is, practically right up to the cliffside over where the carpet store is. My understanding is they put that out to bid multiple times, but can't find anybody that'll take the contract.
Well, that's not actually federally or Department of Defense funded project, but the challenge,
but they
as you
could
know,
have made it an NDAA approved project.
But the challenge I know is that because of the challenges in that road, as you probably understand, there's a lot of businesses on that road.
True.
And trying to, even, Route 1 right now, trying to manage a road construction. In fact, Route 3 right now is ongoing up in near NCTS.
Yeah, they just switched lanes up there.
Yes, and so that's actually not bad because you don't have a lot of businesses coming up. But when you look at Challenge San Antonio, you can count more than 150 businesses on that road, and it's less than 2 miles. And so can you imagine if you're a contractor trying to figure that out? That's probably the biggest.
No, and for the residents that live there as well. My idea was we need to punch in a couple of other side roads so that otherwise we're going to relieve the traffic out there.
As you probably understand, there's dead ends in several of those.
There's plenty of them. Oh my God, I used to know how to get around down there in that section behind GPO up by the cliff. But there used to be more ways to get from that side of the street onto the East Agano Ganya side. At least there was when I was growing up. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the things that go through your head as a civil engineer when you start hearing about projects like that. Is it's fine, we can draw this, but the implementation of this activity, can you imagine what that's going to be? We're having the same conversation about the Don Donkey store that's going to be going up in the corner. What's going to happen? What's going to happen there?
Everybody's thinking about that. Though.
Yeah,
how's the traffic flow going to occur there now?
It's bad now. Yeah. It's terrible now as we think about it. So this name is very familiar, Captain Dan Turner. Why is that name so familiar to me? Has he been around here a couple of times?
He's the commanding officer for NAFAC Marianas. Okay. He's the lead engineer for the military on Guam. And so he's done presentations, and you've probably seen him out in town whenever he does any presentations concerning DoD construction. So he is the main presenter for our Thursday event. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, as I mentioned earlier, was being able to meet other companies, especially national companies. We have actually platinum sponsors, and I want to give them a shout out.
Are they all Native Alaskans?
No, actually, not really. There are a lot of national...
I'm not saying anything like that's a bad thing. I like the Native Alaska corporations, and I like the connection that we have with the Native Alaska corporations because they have an actual senator in Congress that can go to bat for Guam and the other territories because we have common issues. So you know, one hand can easily scratch the other. But go ahead, name the sponsors. I'd be happy to give them some time.
Sure thing. McDonough Bedford MPP JV, Kaufman Engineers with Scott, TG Engineers, Aptum, Smithbridge Guam, AECOM, and Hansel Phelps. As you can notice, these are national firms.
A couple of small shops here.
Yeah, but we allow everyone to come on board and be able to be part of our members because, again, we look across every sector in the community. And, you know, being out here for 68 years, we can't let not everybody participate because at the end of the day, we try to help the community through trying to find engineering solutions.
Well, and we're in need of them now as Guam grows into this new century. Joe Schrodel is another person that's going to be making a presentation there, keynote speaking for the event. Where do we know him from?
So Joe Schrodel is the executive director of SAME nationally, and so he'll be coming over from the headquarters office in Alexandria, Virginia. Mm-hmm. They're trying to send national officers to each post. There's over 100 posts. Society posts, and so they're trying to send national officers to each one of these celebrations throughout the year they're going to be doing. So we're going to get Joe Schrodel. He's a retired brigadier general and very well respected. So we're excited to have him here. He's going to be talking about, our 2025 strategic plan. So he'll be highlighting that. So
enlighten me on the 2025. No?
Well, there's actually 4 areas that we're going to concentrate on for the next 5 years.
The regional or is this national?
It's national, okay. But what happens is when a national puts out a plan, each post throughout the world actually looks to see how they can...
How do we localize it?
Yeah, and so it's not a matter of national putting this out. It's a matter of how the local post will be able to make sure it happens locally and ensure that it applies to each of the community that each post is at.
So as by way of an association mission statement, what is it that they're looking for?
Well, there's 5 areas. Strengthen industry government engagement, which the Guam Post has been doing for the past several years. Build and sustain resilient communities. Again, that's some of the things, the challenges we face right now.
We have to define resilience here. From an engineering perspective, define resilience. I mean, recovery from storms and things that pop into my head.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, there's different ways to define that. And resilience can be as in preparation for those type of disasters potentially, or just the ability to recover or rebound from such of an event. And so the resilience can be, defined in different ways.
That's interesting. We've gotten pretty good at that. Not great, but
Guam's in that area of the world where you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a once upon a time. I remember after Pamela, and I was 13, 14 years old. I mean, it was weeks and weeks and weeks without electricity, and then things began to trickle back. We got water back first, thank God. But then after a while, it took forever to get the electricity back on. And I remember when the guy from the cable company showed up, and we were able to get cable television back into Grandma's house. That's how I knew things were getting back to normal. But it took months after Super Typhoon Pamela to get to that point in the downtown Agana area. I think we've done a better job in terms of resiliency and being able to rebound from these natural events.
And so those are some of the events that we share with each other, especially nationwide. And so how can we help folks in Puerto Rico.
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
So also looking at developing leaders for the profession. Again, UOG, the engineering degree program there, enrich the STEM pipeline for the nation. We've already started that with the STEM camp that we hold every summer. In fact, our next STEM camp is June 13th. And so,
what's the age group of these kids in the STEM camps?
Those students are attending or about to go into 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th grade.
It's about the right age, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. They've got the aptitude.
Yep.
And by then, they should be all right. They should have a desire for the science side of it, but the mathematics, that would have been the thing that held me back from any kind of STEM conversation. And as it turns out, I'm actually pretty good at math, and a lot of the technology that you see around you here at the radio station was done on the back of envelopes and Sony calculators.
Well, that's actually how engineers start.
Yeah.
They go in a piece of envelope and start developing their plans.
Drafting things up.
And one of the newer, it's not really new, but we've been trying to do this, especially with Guam, a lot of service members, is to prepare service members and veterans for the architect, engineering, and construction industry. So we're going to take a bigger role in trying to help them. Not sure yet how we're going to do that locally, but we know there's a lot of veterans, at least 20,000+ veterans on island, and trying to get back into the community whether they serve 5 years or the entire career. We still need people. And in fact, nationally, there's a shortage of engineers. And so we're going to try to keep as many young people here, but also be able to look at the service members that have retired or moved on and say, hey, there's an opportunity for you in the...
Come back.
Yeah, but also here, they don't need to leave to go somewhere else.
Well, I don't know. So I am a brocanic by trade, and that's what I do. I know my way around Home Depot. For somebody maybe that has got a little bit of a background in the service, might have gotten a little bit of training in engineering related fields here. What would be the process? I mean, how do you get them back? I mean, would you have job fairs for businesses like yours that are looking for guys that might have the aptitude and the desire?
Well, that's one of the things we've been trying to support, is especially with the different services, when they transition after they retire or decide to leave the military, is to support that, including job fairs. Right now, again, we're trying to figure out the best way to support them. In the past, the veterans, we've supported them through donations of wheelchairs. We've helped clean up the veteran cemetery.
Yeah.
We have a lot of young members. Initially, we had a few, but as you know, we're trying to develop these young members to take on our roles because it's our turn to retire and move on too. But I think with these young members that are coming on board, they are out there in the community to help the veterans but also the community. We had a major project with the young members actually doing a Agana Heights gym. They repaired the bathroom and it went from, as you know, the bathrooms on island is very challenging.
Issues with deferred maintenance over the years, but so there is an opportunity there to find the new tile guy and the new cabinet guy,
yes,
and to put them to work.
Yes.
Are there initiatives? I appreciate you sharing the ideas on what the national initiatives are and how we bring that into what we'd like to do here. But are there homegrown initiatives of SAME in terms of like working with the government? Are there more things that you'd like to see cooperation with the government of Guam or access to more of these government projects?
Well, we actually invite all the government of Guam agencies, especially Department of Public Works, the Port Authority, airport.
GWA, GPA, they've all presented at our society meetings. So we get them engaged in our meetings and with our society as much as we can. But yeah, we reach out. Our job is to collaborate between the private and public industry a lot of times. And we make sure that we try to make that effort.
I'd asked you about where the money is. It's supposed to be a lot of money in engineering that around the Marines, not the Marines, the marine engineering, marine construction. Doing ports and
ports and waterways.
Yeah, ports and waterways. It's supposed to be some good money in that because it's really expensive work, I'm told.
Well, anytime you do work over water, it's going to be expensive because you got to have support craft. I mean, there's inherent risk with doing work over water, so you have a lot of safety precautions put in place. You have specialty contractors and welders and underwater welders and divers. So, there's a lot of...
Lots can go wrong.
A lot of things can go wrong, yeah, and you want to make sure that you're doing things safely. And
How much of your training and background is involved in that kind of thing, where we start talking about safety regulations and compliance and federal compliance?
About
so many
100% of the
about
time.
100%. So when was the last time you actually drew a plan for something as opposed to, I got forms to fill out?
Yeah, so what typically with your design, you're taking all that into consideration. As an engineer, we take all that into consideration with, the safety and how they're going to implement it. We can't just say, hey, go and build this, because the contractor will look at it and go, you're crazy.
Yeah.
So we collaborate with the contractors a lot of times during our designs, and we say, how can we do this safely? How is the best way to do this? So we really have to think about how something's going to be built or implemented when we're designing it. So yeah, we have to understand the safety. We have to understand construction methods. Yeah. Environmental risks, and just a lot of different variables that we have to take into account.
Anybody know when they're going to be done with the construction on Route 4 over by Agania Shopping Center? Anybody?
I'm kind of curious too. Yeah, got somebody answer that.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier the construction in Petey, down in Petey and Assen, where they've got there is seeming looks like underground work that has been done for about 2 years now.
I don't think we're the right people to answer that question.
Yeah, well, I guess I was leading to a question that I've got in my head about some of the things that you guys see as civil engineers and engineering guys that just kind of make you scratch your head and you wonder how did that get there?
What are they doing?
Yeah.
Well, let me put it this way: what we've tried to do is help reduce a lot of that. I think 10 years ago, I think we would have had more of that type of activity. As you start seeing, for example, the road construction. I don't know if you remember the intersection of Route 1 and 3. That took less than 2.5 years to complete.
Right.
And then now Route 3 is getting completed, and that's less than 2.5, almost about 3 years.
Well, you know what I'd like to see, though, is the metrics on that, is to see whether or not it's actually improved traffic through that area and the traffic flow. I don't think it has. The same thing at 8, 10, and 16. You remember how long we endured the construction there.
Yeah.
And they opened it back up, and the same number of cars went through. In fact, it got worse because of the spalling and the craters on the roadway. People were going slower through there than they had before the construction.
So I lived out there and moved, and so I know that route very well, and it will improve the traffic flow. That's going to be a major improvement of traffic flow. There's going to be a lot more cars going that way because of the Marine base anyways.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, but I just don't know that it is any more efficient today than it was in the beginning. There certainly seems to be a lot more activity. The sidewalks are pretty and the markings are nice, and will be until we get our next big storm and blow some of those things away. Fun conversation. You want to have this with these guys. The big do-all, be-all, end-all for the interview is the get-together that's happening Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Times, dates, whatever?
So Thursday, February 20th at 4 p.m., and you can go onto our website and register and check out the registration. We have registration there and sponsorship opportunities as well, so you can go to same.org/Guam.
Okay. You can call Scott Thompson, too, if you've got questions about that, or maybe you do need a tile guy or a cabinet guy. I'm sure Scott knows somebody. You want to give your number out?
Sure. Yeah, my phone number is 300-7531.
300-7531. It's one of these guys with that 300 number, and it freaks me out every time I hear it.
It's another world.
It doesn't sound like that should be right. It should be a 4 or a 6 in front of it, or something like back in the old days. Hey, but thanks for coming by the station. I appreciate it, and don't be strangers. Anytime SAME has got something going, or you think that there are members of the community that need to know, especially about the STEM programs for the kids, I'd love to be able to continue to get my kids interested in the science and the technology and the engineering and the mathematics that will go into, I think, a pretty happy life and a wonderful career. Appreciate you coming by, Noel.
Yep.
All right. See you at the Crest, Scott.
Yep.
All right.
All right. We'll see you on Thursday,
I don't know where you're taking
I'll see you
it.
on Thursday. Right?
Maybe. I might wander into one of your meetings again. In 19 minutes, it'll be 10 o'clock in the morning. The radio station is the point, and this part of the program brought to you by iConnect. iConnect, a lot of engineers over there, and they know a thing or two about making your phones work, but we also know a thing or two about selling your phones, and there's an iConnect over at the Micronesia Mall. Refurbed the place. We've got all kinds of new iPhones in there and incredible Apple technology that will help improve your digital life. You want to find out more? Get in the car, go to the Micronesia Mall, and go to the iConnect.
With a new decade, there are new opportunities. And with new opportunities, there is always a chance to say yes. Yes to that car. Yes to that business venture. Yes to that new house. With First Hawaiian Bank, it all starts with yes. Member FDIC.
Cocoa Coffee Company is now available at Circle K. Single origin coffee beans carefully sourced and locally roasted to give you the freshest cup of coffee Guam has to offer. Grab a cup that's brewed every 30 minutes or purchase a bag of the locally roasted whole beans. Flavors now serving: light medium roasted Ethiopia and medium dark roasted Jamaican Blue Mountain. Exclusively available at Circle K. With every Cocoa Coffee Company purchase, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Cocoa Recovery Program.
Hello, Vicky Cordova. Dave Duenas is online. I'm a B. What are you trying to say there with that name, huh? Jose Martinez. And as I said, Annette Adavesquez online and listening to the program out in Southern California. Almost President's Day here on Guam, but, you know, we don't celebrate so much the President's Day thing because we already have the Feast of the Immaculate Conception and the Good Friday holidays and all of that stuff in there. And so you can keep your President's Day. And somebody said, well, it's also not like we vote for president here. It's not like it's going to be 2020 and we're going to be getting together and asking all the Republicans and all the Democrats and all the Republicans who it is that we want running things in the White House. But I guarantee the answer, is it too early to start taking bets on whether or not Trump is going to win this election on a walk?
Never. It's never too early.
Just saying. Just, you know, all the... I'm sorry, we very rarely ever get a chance to talk about national politics, and for a lot of reasons, because it's kind of a blind spot. I generally don't pay that much attention to it. Normally, if I'm reading the papers and I get to the part where they're talking about national politics, okay, turn it to the comics. Because it's the same thing. It's the same results. And it's the Democrats don't like Trump, and that's what they've been trying to do all this time. Frankly, local politics and local political gossip is much, much, much more exciting to me to be able to go forward. And it's funny because the sheer number of people, since I've been talking about running for senator, come up to me and talk about what my chances are. And it's always, it's a delight to hear. You know, when people say, you know what, Ray, trust me, if you run, you're going to win. And I'm like, well, thanks. I really, really appreciate that confidence. I don't know what it's based on, frankly, but I'm glad that it's there. And I hope that if I do run and I do win, that I won't be as big of a disappointment as everybody else has been to the voting community, where you get in there and you go, okay, all right, I got these people. They're going to make my life better. That's what they're going to do. They're going to make our lives better. They will improve the quality of our life. The road in front of my house will not be pothole-ridden anymore. And there'll be lights on the roadways. While I'm driving at night, I'll be able to see where I'm going. And when I'm driving at night and it's raining, I'll be able to see where I'm going. Sometimes you can't do that on some of the roads that we've got here on Guam. I was driving north early on Saturday morning, because that's where the race was. It started at Anderson Air Force Base, and it's awesome because you get into a portion. You come out of like Waisangsong, that area there, and it's dark roads and there's no lights or anything like that. The only lights come from the houses and businesses that are out there, and then all of a sudden, like I want to say around by the fire station, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like the road lights up. Because they've got all these markers, because they've done all that reconstruction out there last year before. And so they've got, the roads are smooth. It's nice. And they put down new lane markers, and they got the botched dots, the reflectors that are out there. It's a pleasure to drive on. And then when you pass that construction, you go back to the crap road, where it's dark and you can't see where you're going. And I go on, well, just keep going. Amazing. You don't have to fix the whole road. Just put the stripes back down. You know, we're quickly getting to a point where we're going to have significant technology. We're going to have significant... It's already there behind the wheel of the car. I want to say that I saw a new Toyota over the weekend that has smart, safe technology built into it. You know, it's the kind of car you practically drive itself as long as it can see where the edges of the lanes are. Yeah, right? Yeah. You know, it's got that lane, whatever, when you move out of the lane, it nudges the wheel and wakes you up.
I like that.
Yeah. Lane departure, right? That's the technology they've got there. But it really only works if it knows, because they've got little cameras in the car that know where the edges of the road are. But if we don't put those edge markers down...
No dots.
No dots. The technology will not save your life, unfortunately. I'm just saying. So we need to get into that. So in terms of the elections, who in there has done anything at the legislature that has changed or improved your life?
Clinton Rigel.
Yeah, that's the easy one. That's the easy one. But I don't. Yes, it's there. But the proof now is with the Cannabis Control Board to make sure that they don't come out. And I hope that this is a thing. I hope when Vanessa gets together with these guys, all right, what's our goal is not to be mataping. That should be the overarching goal of the Cannabis Control Board, is not to be mataping, and put something out there in terms of policy and cannabis control that actually will kill the industry before it starts. Frankly, I'd like to. Everybody can grow whatever amounts of marijuana they want to, and you can sell it wherever you want to, as long as you pay taxes on it. And so we put together a system where we can watch the tax. And you can sell it in any form you want to. You want to sell cookies? Sell cookies. You want to sell brownies? You sell brownies. You want to sell it just the loose stuff, shakes? You can do that if you like to. But my point is that we make it so that people that are clever, that have got an entrepreneurial spirit, that are thinking outside boxes that you guys don't even know exist. Those are the guys that I'd like to be able to encourage. And so we look at the 35th Guam legislature from the perspective of somebody that wants a job in the 36th Guam legislature, and wonder, scratch your head about this. I'm looking at a resolution here, and I'm going, well, hell, we must have solved all of the problems. If all we've got left now is to undertake a comprehensive One Guam approach on current and future consequences of the leaks at the Runit Dome on the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and to further urge the U.S. Secretary of Energy to consider Guam when researching and drafting a report on the status of the Runit Dome as mandated by PL 116-92, the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act. What? You got to worry about a dome 1,000 miles away? Oh, now we have to do this? Hey, let's do fix Department of Corrections resolution. Let's do a fix Guam Memorial Hospital resolution. Why are we going to expend any amount of time on something that today, right now, is not as great a problem as people throwing knives into cars in Sinahanya? Can we concentrate? Big picture, guys. Big picture. That's small picture, and it's far away, and the timelines. Somebody else is already working on it. So what do we got to do this for? Regine, I'm not crazy about this resolution, and disappointed to see names like Clint's, Tina's, Kelly, Joe S., Bill Castro, Will Castro, Pito Terlahi, Amanda Shelton, and Louise Munoz behind this. And frankly, anybody, you guys are gonna have to fight for my vote after looking at this. With all of the problems that we have, we start throwing out a resolution on the Runit Dome. I get it; it's a bad thing, but we got bad things that are happening here on Guam. Big picture, guys. Dr. Ron McNitch on the line. Good morning, Doc.
Hey, happy day, Ray. Happy day, Guam.
Happy day. How you doing there?
Very good. My daughter, she was Miss Universe, about a year and a half ago. AutoSpot gave her a car for a year.
Nice.
And it was a nice Buick, and it had a camera. And my wife and me and I, we all became addicted to that backup camera, because there was never an issue about parking or anything else.
There's a new car that will park itself and unpark itself. Have you seen the commercial for that?
I've heard about them, but I haven't seen the commercial.
I want to say maybe it's a Kia, maybe? I don't know. Not an American brand. And they make a big deal about the trying to get the car into a really, really tight space. And so the guy steps out of the car and presses a button on the key fob, and it starts parking itself. And so you don't have to worry about opening the doors into the other car, because you're already out of the car, and it parks itself. And then when you're all done, then drinking beer or whatever, then you press the button again, and it will unpark itself and get out of that tight space so you can get in and drive it. I think that's very cool.
Wow, very nice. Technology. We're all cavemen, just with better technology.
Oh, I grunt. I'm a grunter. Yeah, I go to Home Depot if I see something. I was at 76 Circle K, and for $11 you can buy this thing. It looks like a key fob, and it Bluetooths with your phone. So if you ever lose your phone or you can't find your keys in the car, you can go to open an app on it. If you misplace your phone, you press the thing, and it will make your phone beep in the house. This is like $11. I thought, this is pretty significant technology. I'll take one. I haven't used it yet. But it made me grunt. I'm looking at the thing going, Bluetooth.
I need one for my remote at home.
That's right. No, and it comes with 3M double stick tape, so you can put it on the remote.
Gosh.
What do they think
incredible.
up next? So you got a Bluetooth to your remote, and you press a button on the phone, and it will go bring, bring, bring. Come and find me, Ron. So what are we going to do with this election? What do you suppose we got to do? I mean, I'm hoping that you agree with me. The Runit Dome, yeah, that's something that we ought to keep our eye on and make sure it doesn't become, some kind of nuclear menace to our kids and our grandkids. But before we do that, can we fix the Department of Corrections? Can we take care of the lockup?
Sure we can. But we got to be willing to do it. And actually, I get people mad at me every time I say this, Ray. But I got to tell you, we have a lot of people that are simply being housed in the Department of Corrections who don't even belong there.
I hear that.
All we have to do is make an administrative parole system with, you name the location, wherever these folks come from, and basically send them back to wherever they came from, whether it's Texas or Chuuk or wherever else, and let them wait until they're being processed here, because a lot of them simply can't afford bail. Or if they do get bail, it's just a revolving door. They lose the bail because of drinking or whatever after that.
Well, did you hear about that knife guy? The knife guy's got a rap sheet going back a couple of years to 2017, 8 different arrests, and generally all of them involve some kind of underage drinking, public drunkenness, disorderly conduct going back to 2017. And the question I have is, unless this kid was born here, and even if he was, I'd say a case could be made that he's worn out his welcome here and needs to go someplace else.
Yeah, I think that, in general, I'm a big fan of exile and banishment, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just if and by the way, I hate the sound.
Exile. That's grunt.
I really do hate to sound this way. But if a person wants to come to live on Guam, and if they can't afford it, or if they can't, basically support themselves, they shouldn't live here.
Well, we just, how do we make that clear to the federal government that we've got to be able to rely on them to enforce that clause in the compacts, the old ones and the ones that they're negotiating? If you go by, guarantee, Doc, if you go by that parking garage down in Tumon, it'd probably be a significant minority of the people that are crashed there that are locals. I suspect that many of them are of Micronesian descent, came here with the hopes of being able to improve their lives and failed somewhere along the way. And now they're going to be wards of the state or contributing to the eyesore down there. And frankly, if you don't have a job and if you're not going to school and you become a problem for Guam, you got to get back on the airplane. You can come back later when your situation improves, but you can't stay here.
Because our systems are so fragile. And one other key thing, and it's not just people from the region. There's one of the TV stations did a show or a segment on homelessness on Guam. And this guy was out in front of Amazon in New Jersey, and somebody gave him a plane ticket to come here.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, I think it was Chris. Chris Barnett is the one who identified that guy, and he openly admitted that he was put on a plane to come here. And
how enjoyable must that have been for the people that he was sitting with?
I'll tell you, I would like to see, we for many years. We had a security clearance here, and it was bad for our tourism. It really was. But the security clearance also kept all the riffraff out of here. I would like for us to basically make an agreement with the federal government. If you're a registered sex offender in the U.S. mainland, you can't come here to live unless you pass a residence commission showing that you have a genuine family connection here or some other reason. We don't want you. Or same thing goes with violent felons. Our systems are too fragile, and this is like a candy store to hardcore criminals.
Yeah, but I'm sure in their home islands, the chief of police is saying, "Yeah, I'll buy your ticket to Guam." Okay, go. So you be somebody else's problem. So they've I believe that many of these island nations governments have abdicated their responsibilities to their own people because they got all this federal money coming in, but we want to spend that on me and my rice bowl. Anybody else? What, hospitals, schools? Forget it. We're not building any of that stuff for you. Get sick, go to Guam. Want to get an education? Go to Guam. They'll do it for you for absolutely free as part of the compacts. And so we are basically, government of Guam is basically subsidizing these island nations. and we go down there and we talk to them like this isn't a burden for us. It is.
Well, Guam should not be a dumping ground, and that's the reality. And you know who would totally agree with this concept if it was sold in the right way? President Trump would, in a heartbeat. And I know he has to balance the national interest, right? Which is great. You know what we should do? We should ask that if this is going to be the case, then these regional islands should be given their own Organic Act and be given their own U.S. relationship, so that they don't have to come here in the dumping ground scenario.
Oh boy! But then we get in that conversation about carpetbagging and colonizers.
Well, you know, that I got to say, we've got to have some conversation to get things moving, and hopefully that conversation will give us some solutions. But I believe if Guam wanted to, we could simply make an agreement with these regional governments and say it's far more humane for your folks that are in jail here to not be in jail here and just to be in their homes at home.
I don't think the administration, this present administration, has sent anybody back. I think all of the deportation, I think all of that stuff stopped when Eddie Calvo stopped being the governor, and I think that is to our detriment around here. 9:58, I got to run. I'll talk to you.
Hey, have a great time running for office. Run as fast as you can, Ray.
Yeah, buddy. Closing in on 10 o'clock. Be right back.
Chili's 2 for $25 is back. Start with an appetizer to share. Then choose 2 entrees like our mouth-watering old-timer with cheeseburger or the Cajun chicken pasta, grilled chicken with penne and Alfredo sauce, and chili spices. Feeling extra? Upgrade to a personal fajita or our famous half-rack ribs. Bring a friend or a date to Chili's and get 2 entrees for $25. Located on the 2nd floor of Tumon Sands Plaza. Chili's. More life happens here.
Yep, I see it.
If you've ever struggled for breath, you know what a scary experience it is. Whether you have asthma, emphysema, COPD, lung cancer, or another respiratory illness, the right medical treatment makes all the difference. GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic has the latest technology and respiratory equipment, staffed by world-class pulmonologists. Make an appointment today with GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic and start breathing easier. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Pretty Gina Campos writes, how about paying for a new crane at the Port Authority so we can unload the goods in a timely manner, get them to market? Rudy Magallana says he thinks it's a new Hyundai Sonata that I'm talking about. And then Gina Campos also writes in, oh yeah, forensic pathologist, just in case senators aren't aware of some of the issues that are pending. We don't need to worry about the Runit Dome right now. We've got stuff around here that we need to worry about and ulcerate over. The radio station is KUSG. I got you 93.3 for Real Joe and Jerry Roberts in Montesilva Tire. And this is Ray Gibson saying, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
Betting on diversity. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Democratic candidates courting minority voters in Nevada before Saturday's caucuses. Bernie Sanders holding a rally in Carson City.
We have a president who is a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot.
Sanders leading the pack in a new poll from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Nevada is an important state for many reasons. Among them, it is the first real indication of how candidates will do among minority voters. Nevada has a large Hispanic population, and candidates they want their support. Telemundo interviewed 3 presidential candidates, all of them campaigning in Nevada this weekend, and asked them, who is the president of Mexico? Only one of them knew the answer. Pete Buttigieg.
Fox's Ellison Barber in Las Vegas. President Trump had a different contest on his mind today.
For 500 heart-pounding miles, these fierce competitors will chase the checkered flag, fight for the Harley J. Earl Trophy, and make their play for pure American glory. And that's what it is, pure American glory.
President Trump serving as Grand Marshal of the Daytona 500. The White House defending the president's tweets directed at the Justice Department days after Attorney General William Barr